कर दूं लाइव। चेक करो सर लिंक।
स्क्रीन शेयर।
अभी आई थिंक सब कुछ ओके होगा हमारा। स्क्रीन पे नहीं आया। आई थिंक सेट ही है सर। अभी लॉगिन आया। चलो आ ही जाऊंगा अब तो। ले लो, ये तो अपन ने डायरेक्ट दे दी।
एक बार फिर से ज्वाइन करें, ये सारे लोग अभी ज्वाइन हैं।
माइक ऑफ है, ठीक है, माइक ऑफ रहने दो, जब मैम बोले तब ऑन कर देना।
ये सारे लोग
नहीं, ये आप ही को दिखेगी, सामने नहीं दिख रही है, चला
नहीं दिखेगी बाबा।
अच्छा, ये वो कर रहा है ना,
मेरी स्क्रीन है ना, दिखेगा।
माइक ऑन कर दें सर, माइक ऑन कर दो।
क्या माइक?
देखो ये सारे लोग अभी ज्वाइन हैं। कर दो 1 2 3
बस यहाँ मत बोलना, कोई कैमरा बंद हो गया। वो मैं देख रहा हूँ, वही ऑन ऑफ हो रहा नहीं हो रहा।
10 लोग ज्वाइन हैं।
हम चलते हैं इधर, माइक ऑन करके। मैं प्रोग्राम कर रहा हूँ, मैं कर रहा हूँ, अभी देख लेते हैं।
उसको वापस बोला
हाँ ये तो यही है। मैम अभी मुखर्जी सर ने ज्वाइन कल जो आप बोल रहे थे ना जिनके लिए यस
आवाज़ तो बंद रखो अभी, म्यूटेड रखो अभी, ताकि कुछ भी नहीं जाए।
दूसरे की रेडी
अरे सर स्टूडेंट्स थोड़ा हम भर रहे हैं अभी, आ रहे हैं थोड़ा सा रुक जाओ, मैं
हम तो रुके बोलो
थोड़ा स्टूडेंट्स को बुलाते हैं।
म्यूट कर दिया मैंने।
म्यूट कर दिया।
व्यू पे व्यू किस पे कौन सा व्यू? अच्छा ये एक मिनट प्रेजेंटर व्यू करना है ना इसको तो। ऑन करके ऑफ कर दो ताकि अपन प्रेजेंट में आ जाएंगे।
दिख नहीं रहे
कौन?
जो लोग ज्वाइन करना चाह रहे हैं वो दिख नहीं रहे।
ये रहे ना
ये रहे, हाँ करो 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 करो। ये सुधीर कुमार बराई को करना है सबसे।
सर यहाँ पे प्रेजेंटेशन पार्टिसिपेंट
हाँ होगा,
वो
इसके बाद होगा, इनॉग्रल के बाद होगा। देयर आर 3 पैरेलल सेशंस। सो जिनका यहाँ पे शेड्यूल्ड है उनका यहाँ होगा, हाँ 2 बजे। जिनका यहाँ शेड्यूल्ड है उनका यहाँ होगा, जिनका कॉन्फ्रेंस में शेड्यूल है उनका वहाँ होगा, एंड जो रेनबो सेंटर है उनका तो पैरेलल सेशन भी है। म्यूट अभी के लिए म्यूटेड नहीं।
उसको फोन करके बता दो
बुलाना। अभी एस के कौन आ रहा है? ये मैं ही आ रहा हूँ क्या?
सुधीर कुमार है कोई, 1 मिनट रुको।
Very good morning to everyone. Those who have joined online to us, we are going to start the ceremony, inaugural ceremony in few minutes. So be there. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, sir. ये हाँ सुधीर कुमार, यही है ना सुधीर कुमार?
नहीं फिर उधर से बोले बंदा, फिर हट जाऊंगा ना यार मैं। ये हटा के दोबारा देखते हैं।
वापस चेंज नहीं, सही है वो अगर ऐसा आ रहा है ना, मतलब वो स्पीकर व्यू पे ही है।
एक बार
स्पीकर व्यू पे, बट प्रॉब्लम क्या आ रही है, स्ट्रीमिंग पे अभी ये दिख रहा है HC, आप लोग नहीं दिख रहे हो क्योंकि जो प्रेजेंटर है, आप तो अपने लेवल पे प्रेजेंटर हो, तो आप दूसरों को दिखोगे, खुद को थोड़ी दिखोगे। अभी स्क्रीन पे क्या दिख रहा है? अभी स्क्रीन पे ये दिख रहा है।
एक मिनट मैं आ जाऊँगा।
PPT शेयर करो, ये HC ही दिख रहा है स्क्रीन पे। अपने आप को पिंग कर दो, अपने आप को।
एक मिनट मैं बोलता हूँ जरा।
नहीं आओगे, खुद का प्रेजेंटेटर खुद को नहीं देख पाता है, सामने को दिखेगा।
तो खुद को पिन मारूँ?
स्टॉप शेयरिंग करो, जस्ट शेयर करना इसको अपनी PPT।
वेट गुरुजी
आराम से
पूरी स्क्रीन शेयर कर दिया। अभी देखो
भाई नेट का कुछ करो यार।
एक दिख रहा है, शेयर स्क्रीन तो नहीं है।
आगे
आ गया। ये अच्छी क्यों आ गया वापस?
अब सही है सर,
ये आ रहा है ना इसमें।
स्क्रीन शेयर है, स्क्रीन शेयर
हाँ स्क्रीन शेयर करके रखो।
वो अपन दिखते रहे।
ये जो भी बोलेगा ऑन कर लीजिए पहले ना। फाइनल चेक मार रहा हूँ।
म्यूट वाला करना पड़ेगा ना। सुमन सर, अभी तो आपको यही रहना है, क्योंकि जब दीप प्रज्वलन होगा ना तो गाना चलाना पड़ेगा, तो आप वहाँ होंगे, आपको टाइम लगेगा।
हाँ दीप प्रज्वलन पे मेरे को चलाना है यूनिवर्सिटी।
मैं उस फोल्डर को
हेलो।
रुको रुको रुको, आप उधर भी आवाज़ जानी चाहिए क्या?
नहीं।
उधर भी आवाज़ नहीं जानी चाहिए। अच्छा ठीक, सिर्फ यही इसमें।
Yes. Dear students, participants, soon we are going to start. Chief guest on the way.
कौन सा स्लाइड है, किसका स्लाइड है? प्रेजेंट करेगा ना वो, तो उस पर शेयर करो ना उस फोल्डर में जो लिंक किया हुआ है ना बच्चे को। नहीं हो जाएगा, कौन है क्या नाम? हो जाएगा हो जाएगा। उस दिन क्या हुआ था, वो सेटिंग्स में सिर्फ अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी वाले वो मैंने चेंज कर दिया, उनको मेल भी लिखा मैंने कि सर अब हाँ नहीं अब उनसे भी हो जाएगा, आप उनको कॉल कर दीजिए, वहीं डाल दीजिए, क्योंकि वो अपने को फिर ढूंढना पड़ेगा। आप यही रहना सर।
honorable dignitaries, learned delegates, respected faculty members, and dear students, a very good morning, everybody. I, Dr. Shweta Lalwani, Professor and HOD School of Management, feel privileged to welcome you all on behalf of Sir Padampat Singhania University, Udaipur, to the two-day International Conference on Management Research and Cases, Icmrc 2023, organized in association with Center for Innovation and Skills and Social Entrepreneurship, SPSU, and the European Extramile Center of African Studies, sponsored by Institution of Engineers, Udaipur Local Center, SAS, Matyaj, and College Dunia. Management thinker Peter Drucker said, "Knowledge has to be improved, challenged, and increased constantly or it vanishes." SPSU, an initiative of the JK Cement Limited, is well aligned with this philosophy and is committed to provide academic excellence through innovation, industry integration, and internationalization. Pursuit of the same becomes possible with immense support and motivation from our leaders, Honorable Chancellor and Chairperson, Dr. Nidhipati Singhania, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, and Pro-President, Colonel Dr. Sanjeev Tomar at Sir Padampat Singhania University. Today's conference brings with it a galaxy of eminent people from industry, academia, and science and technology. I feel honored to extend a very warm welcome to Professor Dr. Uday Shankar Saha, RBI Chair, ex-professor at IRMA, former CGM, NABARD, India, Mr. Sean O'Brien, Vice President and Global Head, SAS Education and Customer Support, SAS, US, Professor Sudhir Kumar Barai, Director, BITS Pilani, Mr. Ashish Phalla, Director, HR and Head, Campus Relations, HCL Tech, Noida, India, Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran, Director, NTPC School of Business, Noida, India, Professor Dr. Kiran Devendra, former Professor and Head, Department of Elementary Education, NCERT, New Delhi, Mr. Yogesh Kochar, Global Ambassador for Happiness, Gurgaon, India, Dr. Tausif Zia Siddiqui, Environment and Compliance Advisor, LNCG, Canada, Professor Dr. Simplice Osungu, lead economist and director, Excas, Belgium, Professor Dr. Festus Victor Bekun, Istanbul, Turkey, Mr. Vivek Iyer, Vice President, Sales, Anthology Incorporation, India, Engineer Chandra Prakash Jain, Chairman, IEI, Udaipur Local Center, Engineer Purushottam Paliwal, Honorary Secretary, IEI, Udaipur Local Center, Mr. Freddy Valspati, Senior Business Manager, Education and Academia, SAS Institute, Private Limited, Mr. Himanshu Singla, CEO and Founder, Matyaj, Professor Neena Muncharji, Chairperson, HRM Institute of Management, Nirma University, Ahmedabad, Professor Vibhor Paliwal, Dean School of Management, Sangam University, Bhilwara. All these people, they have joined from far-flung global corners to make this international event in this lake city a grand success. I also welcome the delegates of the conference from various renowned universities across the globe. With this think tank, we are very sure that the deliberations in management science will go a long way in generating more research inputs and developing more case studies. It is always good to seek the blessings of the Almighty before starting any auspicious event. So, for the lighting of the lamp, I welcome and request our Honorable Vice Chancellor and President, a very charismatic leader, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, Pro-President, Colonel Dr. Sanjeev Tomar Sir, all the deans, director placements, and all the dignitaries to please join. We also welcome Professor Ranjan Malik, Chitkara University, from Chitkara University.
मनोबुद्ध्यहङ्कार चित्तानि नाहम् न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्
To take the proceedings of the conference further, I would now like to invite Professor Dr. Sadanand Prashti, Provost and Dean, School of Management, to introduce the theme of the conference. Please, sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor and President of Sir Padampat Singhania University, Udaipur, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee Ma'am, respected Pro-President SPSU, Colonel Dr. Sanjeev Tomar Sir, keynote speakers and guests of honors, dignitaries, ex-RBI Chair Professor at IRMA and former CGM NABARD, Professor Dr. Uday Shankar Sahaji, Mr. Sian O'Brien, Senior Vice President and Global Head SAS Education and Customer Support, SAS USA, Professor Dr. Sudhir Kumar Barai, Director BITS Pilani, Pilani Campus, India, Mr. Ashish Bhalla, Director HR Head, Campus Relations, SCL Tech, Noida, India, Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran, Director NTPC School of Business, Noida, India, Professor Dr. Kiran Devendra, former Professor and Head, Department of Elementary Education, NCERT, New Delhi, and former Professor and Head, History Department, Amity School of Liberal Arts, Amity University, Haryana, India. Mr. Yogesh Kochar, Global Ambassador of Happiness, CEO at www.lifeolife.com, Gurgaon, India. Dr. Tusif Jia Siddiqui, Environment and Compliance Advisor, LNG, Canada. Professor Dr. Simplice Osungu, Lead Economist and Director, Exacus, Belgium. Mr. Vivek Iyer, Vice President Sales, Anthology INC, India. Professor Dr. Festus Victor Bekun, Istanbul, Gilsim University, Turkey. All the eminent guests, Mr. Harbans Chawla, co-founder at www.lifeforlife.com, Gurgaon, India. Sorry, he is not here because in the last minute I think he has cancelled his trip. Colonel Narendra Singh Saktawat, CEO, Udaipur Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Udaipur. Mr. Siddhant Devasis, Principal Consultant at BCG, Boston Consulting Group, USA. Ms. Jyoti, Boston Consulting Group. Eminent Engineer, Mr. Chandra Prakash Jain Sir, the Institute of Engineers India, Udaipur, local center, who is also our conference sponsor. Mr. Himanshu Singla, CEO and founder, Matyas, who is also our conference sponsor. Mr. Freddie Wellspathy, SAS Institute India Private Limited, our conference sponsor. Mr. Praveena Joshi, Deputy Director and Head, Extension Center of Udaipur, MSME, TDC, Ministry of MSME, Government of India organization. Unfortunately, he conveyed his well wishes, but he is not present here. Professor Dr. Ranjan Kumar Mallik, Dean, Department of Fine Arts, Art and Design Researcher, Chitkara School of Art and Design, Chitkara University, Chandigarh. Mr. Lalit Sharma, noted artist, curator, Udaipur, Rajasthan. Dr. Bijay M. Dhore, noted artist, academician, art curator, and art researcher, Hyderabad. Eminent academicians and the session chairs. Professor Dr. Vibhor Paliwal, Dean School of Management, Sangam University, Bhilwara. Dr. Harshita Srimali, HOD MBA, GITS, Udaipur. Dr. Nina Muncherji, OB Chairperson, OB and Communication Area, Nirma University, Udaipur. Dr. Himanshi Tiwari, OB and HRM, BIMTech, Greater Noida. Dr. Bimol Kishore Sahu, IIT Bhubaneswar. Dr. Pavitra Kumar Jena, Sri Mata Vaishnav Devi University, Jammu. Distinguished faculty members and researchers from different parts of India and abroad, our academic partners, Center for Innovations in Skills and Social Entrepreneurship, CISSE, SPSU, the European Extra Mile Center of African Studies, EXACAS, and SOSLANS, all press and media people, Professor Dr. Bhavna Adhikari, Dean Academics and Conference Co-Chair, SPSU, Professor Dr. Vinod Patidar, Dean Research, SPSU, Professor Dr. Arun Kumar, Dean School of Engineering, SPSU, Dr. Tushar Somnathe, Director Partnership and Placement, SPSU, Dr. Amrit Ghosh, Deputy Registrar, SPSU, Professor Dr. Sweta Lalwani, Convener, ICMRC 2023, HOD SOM, SPSU, the entire organizing team members of ICMRC 2023, including IT head and the team, all HODs and faculty members of different departments at SPSU, all our dear students of SPSU and students from other institutes and universities, all members of the SPSU family, good morning to all of you and namaskar to all of you. On behalf of all the management team members at SPSU and on my personal behalf, I am welcoming all our distinguished keynote speakers, guest of honors, special guests, session chairs, paper presenters of ICMRC 2023 to SPSU Udaipur and ICMRC 2023. May I request all of you to give a huge round of applause for the esteemed dignitaries and the session chairs and the paper presenters who have come from different parts of India and abroad. Let me briefly talk about the School of Management. The School of Management at SPSU, which has commenced in the year 2009, and since its inception, it has conducted several seminars, HR conclaves, industrial visits for the students, participated in the exchange programs in different universities at USA, Japan, Czech Republic, and hosted also many of these exchange programs at SPSU. A good news is that in August 2023, few of our students will be visiting the Chiba University of Commerce, Japan. SOM coordinated SPSU's a European-funded Erasmus Plus capacity building project, that is Rainbow. Completed few of the ICSR-sponsored research projects. Faculty members are publishing research papers in high-impact factor Scopus Index journals. Many case studies, workshops, and faculty development programs organized for the faculty members. Under the banner of DISA, so many guest lectures have been conducted for the students by inviting eminent corporate professionals. Organized communication workshops for students to enhance their employability skill. All these activities, what has happened in the last 1 year, is possible because of the guidance and support we have received from our visionary leader, Honorable Vice Chancellor and President, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee Ma'am. A huge round of applause for her. Currently, the School of Management is offering 7 programs. First, the Bachelor of Business Administration with minors in Entrepreneurship Development, Hospitality, Tourism, and Digital Marketing. Bachelor of Commerce from this year onwards, we are starting this program with honors. Master of Business Administration and Masters in Business Administration in Business Analytics with SAS. Master of Business Administration for working professionals. Master of Business Administration in Business Analytics with SAS for working professionals. Doctor of Philosophy in Management. We develop curriculum and syllabi for all our programs as per the new Education Policy 2020, which is possible because of our Dean Academics, Professor Dr. Bhavana Adhikari Ma'am. Under our guidance, we have done this. A huge round of applause for her. Coming to discussion on the theme of this conference, that is the main topic which I am supposed to discuss here, but hope that little bit time is available for me because I have to complete by 10 minutes. Which we have observed recently that there is a lot of technological advancement which is happening in the post-COVID-19 pandemic, especially in the fintech sector. And we notice that various challenges of the sustainability development in the form of political instability, poverty, unemployment, good governance, and the climate change. These are the issues related to the sustainability as per the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Researchers and policymakers are trying to find out ways to coordinate, to eradicate poverty, zero hunger, maintain gender equality, and climate change. Under the Indian presidency, that is G20 2023, focused on the theme One Earth, One Family, and One Future, which set the G20 priorities with a special focus on macroeconomic implications of food and energy insecurity, climate change, strengthening multilateral development banks, financial inclusion, equitable and sustainable growth, digital public infrastructure, and climate financing. Few people asked us why we have given a generic topic or a broad topic on the management research and cases. Many of these people, they have asked me, this is quite very broad topic, why you have given that? Then I simply given them an answer that as per the new Education Policy 2020, one of the goal which has clearly mentioned that multidisciplinary research. Even if in our teaching also we are following this. So whenever we are talking about the multidisciplinary research, we cannot exclude anything because many developments are happening in different fields of finance, of OB, of HR, of economics, and marketing, and the business analytics. So we cannot exclude any one of these things, and that is the objective why we have kept this title as management, that is your like your international conference on management research and cases, that is 2023. and the 2 days international conference on the management research and the cases, ICMRC 2023, will address the above mentioned issues through various research papers and case studies that will be presented by distinguished dignitaries, faculty members, research scholars, and corporate professionals of reputed institutes and companies from India and abroad. My best wishes to all the paper presenters, and have a fruitful discussion, great peer learning, and comfortable stay at SPSU. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Your insights have set a strong foundation for taking the deliberations of the conference ahead. Thank you once again. I feel honored to introduce our Honorable Vice Chancellor and President, SPSU, Professor Dr. Padma Kali Banerjee. As a distinguished professor in management, she is an astute academic administrator, an institution builder, a thought leader, a leadership coach, a celebrated author, and an influencer. She is a fellow of Royal Society of Arts, London, fellow of the prestigious SIS US, and Mind Advisor USA. She has been instrumental in shaping of many organizations of repute as governing body editorial board member like Medanta Research Institute, International Journal of Hinduism and Philosophy, United Kingdom. Her contributions on the Indian skill development ecosystem have been widely recognized, acclaimed on both national and international platforms. She has received several awards and accolades from various national and international bodies. Some of her recent awards include Green Belt Leadership Award from US Green Building Council for her contribution towards sustainability in 2018, Esteemed Jury Awards by the URS Asia 1 in 2022, Lifetime Achievement Award Education by Sustenance, and many more. She has been featured in the Outlook Spotlight magazine, India at 75, The Change Makers of Modern India, as an inspirational leader and role model in the year 2022. Her book, The Power of Positivity, Optimism, and the Seventh Sense, published by Sage, is a popular choice globally. She has also established social enterprise TreeUp, a foundation for nurturing her keen interest in upliftment and betterment of the society as a whole. At SPSU, she has been instrumental in implementing NEP 2020 for curriculum enrichment. She is a visionary leader and follows a collaborative style of leadership. It is also a proud moment for all of us at SPSU today that she is being honored with India's Greatest Education Leaders Award by Asia 1 magazine and URS Media International today in New Delhi. We congratulate you, ma'am, on your achievement and would like to invite you for your address. Please.
Thank you, Professor Shweta, for those nice, long introduction. First of all, I can see a lot of youth, and that really gives me a lot of power when I'm here on the podium. So let's first clap for all our youngsters sitting. And for the round of applause you did, the way you honored the dignitaries when they walked in, it's definitely a great statement. So a hot summer morning, after a great summer spectrum that just concluded yesterday, it was a great painting exhibition, workshops that was held. It was kind of a backdrop on which this international management and research and case conference has been planned. One of the things that I really wanted to impress upon each one of you, and specifically to all the people who have come here for the very first time, that at SPSU, Sir Padampat Singhania University, we believe in inclusive and diverse and multicultural culture. So here we have people from all walks of life coming to us. Look at the legacy of JK Cement. As you walk in, you see the great, strong, statue of Sir Padampat Singhania, who himself was one of the signatory when the Constitution was written. And under the legacy of JK Cement, our Dean very beautifully talked about, our chairperson, Dr. Nidhipati Singhania, the Managing Director, Sri Raghavpat Singhania, Deputy Managing Director, Madhav Krishna Singhania. There is a mission that is believed in the entire industry, and we are a corporate-led industry. So we really believe in a lot of, collaborative efforts. Today, higher education space is moving where people now not talk about competition, people talk about collaboration. So just like we heard of Ivy Leagues years, now we have education, leaders league coming in India. So very recently also we met large number of vice chancellors, and the mission in India is the same. How do we create education for our youth in India, so that the young population and the most populous country that we are today in the world, how do we make a difference in the lives of the masses? So not only our students, our Dean, Dr. Sadanand already mentioned about our curriculum. I would like to also emphasize that we are looking at not just the first job that you get, the employability that you have, but for life. How do you become a good learner? So that is going to be very important in tomorrow's days to come. As we are seeing a very chaotic world, we keep talking about the VUCA world. So this volatility is going to continue. And how do you survive? How do you really become a winner in that world? So let me spend maybe 30 seconds on management research today. So if you look back and now look ahead in front, you will see that there has been a paradigm shift, huge paradigm shift. So the volume of data has increased. So when you are carrying out a data, now like I have a lot of participants who are listening to us, we can't see you here on the screen, but I can actually feel your presence. So much happened. A good example of this is a conference. And I would really like to mention all our faculty members, and specifically our new entrant, Dr. Bright, who has come in. And through him, we could get a lot of young, good researchers, lot of research across the world who came and also submitted papers. Many of them would be speaking in different slots. So I think that is the world. So management research today has to be large. It has to create an impact where you solve world problems. And one of the other things that is very important is nowadays there are so much of scientific softwares available. All the data analysis what we did in years back was very different. Now on the click of a button you are using so many good softwares, and it is an important tool. And similarly even the role of social media, because it's a new media, is now becoming a tool for management research and case studies. So I very recently, the management school has concluded 2 large case study series workshops. There also we realized that how there is a potential for bringing the real cases into the university. So be it a student of science, engineering, any other course or design, we need to really bring into the focus on an inclusive research. I really want to mention here that a lot of, because already Dean has mentioned each one of your name, but I want to really tell you how grateful I am that each one of you really came over, and we are really fortunate that such dignitaries, such experts took their time, from their most difficult, because the time is a commodity that it is very difficult today to meet up. Whether you had some other appointments, whether you had some other mission, but I really congratulate each one of you for coming here, motivating the students and contributing. And at the end, what I would like to say is, you've seen that we have all our deans sitting here, be it from management, be it from engineering, our dean research, our experts from Boston Consulting Group who are also participating in the journey of SPSU's transformation into a new age university. A new age university which will bring in a huge impact in the lives of the young youth. So locally also we are doing a lot of work. For example, we had the waterman a couple of months back who came and spoke to the students. We are having the symposiums on a regular basis where people come and solve problems, whether it is even patents, the centers of excellence here. We have centers on energy studies, we have center of sustainable innovation and skill development, and a number of centers in the computer science has been delivered. So all of that is giving the student an edge, and on top of it, what we are also doing is the global certifications. So as you have heard the name of SAS, Zebia, and many others, we have had great partnerships like LTTS, and you name it, Microsoft. They all are partners today where we are working on some project or the other. And so I'm really happy to mention that each of you have come here, and I take this opportunity to tell my youth that I believe a lot on mindful meditation. So be there where you are today. Every single moment is important in life. And end of the day, every time you're happy, you win. So remember to smile, remember to keep your spirits high. Best wishes to all. Thank you.
Ma'am, we request you to please stay back to unveil. We request you to unveil and launch the STAR, that is SPSU's Training Academy and Research Center. Please, ma'am. STAR, that is SPSU Training Academy and Research Center.
So, thank you. That was lovely. So, may I request the Pro Vice Chancellor, Dean Academics, my deans, the head of the partnerships and placements to just please come up for 30 seconds when I talk about this center that we have started. So, the STAR program at SPSU, as you can see stars here also, along standing with me. The STAR program is the SPSU Training Academy and Research Center, which is IT. Head also can come and join. So this center is going to focus on the equipping the professionals from the corporate on variety of skills. May I also request our partners who are available with us to also join, like SAS is there. All our partners whose name you can see here, if you're here, please come and join. Maybe Jyoti, why don't you come also join? Right, Dr. Darpan, don't wait for me, please come, who are actually going to take the STAR program forward. So basically, it is going to be a combination of programs from management, from computer science, from engineering, and vocational education, where we need to focus on upskilling. So I believe in reskilling, upskilling, and acquiring new skills. So we are on run. We are on the process of running and creating that impact. So each one of us, all our corporate partners, can you also join us? Because I think, Ashiji, these are the kind of things that we are doing for the corporate world. So let's celebrate this moment. But every celebration comes with lot of responsibility. So our journey has just begun. Lot of things we need to achieve through the STAR program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. SPSU organized a 3-day Summer Spectrum 2023, a national art and design symposium for the students, which ended today. Internationally acclaimed artists trained the students, and as a token of our appreciation towards their art, we would like to felicitate them. May I request Honorable Vice Chancellor, SPSU Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, and Pro-President Colonel Sanjeev Tomar sir to please come and felicitate these artists. I request Dr. Vijay Dhore, noted artist, academician, and art curator and art researcher, Hyderabad, to please accept the token. Professor Dr. Ranjan Kumar Malik, noted academician, artist, author and art design researcher, and Dean, Chitkara University, Chandigarh. Please, sir. Ma'am, I request you to wait. Yes. Yes. Professor Malik has a gift for our Honorable Vice Chancellor, ma'am. He has prepared a SPSU landscape painting this morning, and he wishes to present it.
All right, great for the university, great. Oh, wow. This you did this morning? Today morning. Oh, wow. Great. Amazing.
Ma'am, please stay. We would also like to thank and felicitate Icmrc 2023 sponsors for their support and generosity in organizing this conference. I invite Engineer Chandra Prakash Jain, Chairman, Institution of Engineers, Udaipur Local Center. Please come, sir. Engineer Purushottam Paliwal, Honorary Secretary, Institution of Engineers, Udaipur Local Center.
This is the Pag and the
Uparna. Uparna. Mr. Freddy Valspati, Senior Business Manager, Education and Academia, SAS Institute India Private Limited. Please accept Pag and Uparna from us. Mr. Himanshu Singla, CEO and founder, Matyaj. Is he there? All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. To take the session further, I would now invite Professor Dr. Uday Shankar Saha, RBI ex-chair, Professor Irma, former CGM NABARD, India, to deliver his keynote address. Please, sir.
Good morning, very good morning. Very good morning to all of you. Thank you, thank you. After such a fantastic start, so I'll be taking to a different world. So, at the outset, I must thank Madam Padmakali Banerjee, the Honorable Vice Chancellor and President of SPSU University, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity, and also Dean and others who are present. Respected dignitaries, all present here, the sponsors, the faculties, deans, and my dear students and researchers. It's a really a great honor that No, please keep it over here. I think mic is not catching. Oh, okay. I have little throat problem as well. Yeah, no problem. I think I don't require. Today I am going to just highlight some of the points which are very crucial as I feel. We know all. So, but still, sometime it is always important to remind ourselves as also to the people. We know the contributors of the economy and also for our family and society. Today I am talking about the women, the power to prosperity. As we have observed, this is our practical case which I have learned not only from my childhood but from my earlier organizations, NABARD, that women are the most powerful tools. Sorry for the main folk, I am not undermining them because it is a great power to us. So keeping in view and considering the kind of conditions we have in our hinterland and the rural areas, I am going to talk about some of them regarding them. Many a times we know that I am a Bengali and you all know how much we worship all the women gods and goddesses, be it Durga or Kali or any other goddess in our places, and similarly elsewhere in the country in different name and different forms. But many a times we forget to recognize the main power who are at home. Often people used to say, if our mothers are not working, they say our mothers are just as a homemaker. But many times we do not give the recognition home management and our development. Keeping in view, then I thought that let me share the experiences which I have learned from NABARD and share with you. The power which we have and the potential in them is not harnessed yet for our development. As you know, that very large population in India, at least 685 million women are there, of which 287 millions were there only in 1973. That means the women forces are increasing day by day. And out of which around 43% are the women forces who can be employable and deployed for various purposes, but most of them are either unemployed or underemployed or disguised employment. Yesterday when we were speaking to Dr. Yogesh and Madam, at that time also the issues of unemployment and the problems of the country came up, and then it was also very relevant. Then all of us have started thinking about it. So my point today is that huge women labor forces in India is to be employed and then engage them fruitfully. So when I was discussing, I am just going to my student here, when I was discussing in IRMA, in the management students, there raised certain issues while deliberating on this microfinance. Though despite having so much of work on microfinance, why the women are still not progressed? Why the health are why the health of the women are not improved? What is the conditions? And this has been discussed in the context of Global Hunger Index when it was released in 2019, and then we find that India's ranking in the world was very low. It is 105 of 117 countries. So the question of not a ranking or position, question of the issues. What are the issues which are really bothering to us? And then that made me to revise this microfinance course towards the society and movement. And then we started looking at them and looking at the poverty issues also altogether. And then looked at that India has been progressing over the year. If we look at from since 1947 onwards and thereafter 1973 onwards, then still there are certain states which are very much poverty stricken and large number of people are having below poverty line. So keeping that in view, so NABARD, when it initiated in 1992 a journey, so that how that will be impacting. This particular slide is showing that how the progress has happened in the country and how our initiatives have been making the successes. I have just tried to provide you a canvas of 1973-74 to 2011-12 and then today, and then we find there is a decrease in the poverty ratio, but all the more the issues are still there, that 270 millions of people are still below poverty line. That is what that's in our country. So now, in between, you know that there are a lot of discussions among the economists, among the academicians, and also development and scientists. And there are two reports. One, that Hindustan Times in between brought out a publication, and they mentioned about the people who are multidimensionally poor. So, and then multidimensionally poverty index also is very poor. There are, I have indicated 10 states. You see that there are major states which are having the large number of people who are below MP level. And simultaneously in the recent past, if we look at that, Niti Aayog has also brought out a multidimensional poverty index. And that Niti Aayog position is also very gloom, and it is a gloomy scenario, though it has improved a bit, and then variation in terms of improvement from the poverty level is more than 3%, as I have indicated in this slide. So keeping in view, that shows that there is a progress in it, but then challenges are more. And this has led to the discussions whether our initiatives for all this microfinance is really helping and working or not. So let us look at it. So how this particular model has been working, and this is the Niti Aayog position, and as per this report, 350 million people are multidimensionally poor. 350 million people as per Niti Aayog estimate in 2022, although the base figure is 2015-16. So that is the condition. Now, in this historic innovation which was brought out in 1992 in NABARD in consultation with RBI, whether it has really impacted and helped in the society and particularly for the women. So that is what I just try to capture and share with you as a case. So there are many things, and since I was associated since beginning for the policy initiatives and then operations and all, so I know that there are many cases which are very fantastic and cases of success among the women across the country. So I will just show you a few incidences in this. So this particular unique feature, we all are knowing about the banking, but this particular feature is very different. When it was thought of in, say, late 80s, so worldwide there is a movement of microfinance or microcredit rather, so that was going on, but that particular model was basically the credit-led model. But in India, when we have created a very different model, and this model is the main purpose was to give as a banking access as part of the financial inclusion. Although the terminology financial inclusion was not added in our circulars or any policy papers, but the purpose is the same, giving the banking access to the poor. And we, from NABARD, we understood that poor are bankable and credit worthy. This is the philosophy we accepted, and with that commitment we have just moved ahead. And then this will be also helping the inclusive development. We remember then Finance Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh used to say for the inclusive development, unless this inclusive development is there, then society cannot prosper. So that was the condition. And then involving women, that is how the status, our decision started, whether to involve the women or focusing more on the women. And it was observed that more than 90% of these self-help groups which are created in the country and linked to the banking sector are women. So this is what is the more powerful observations and decisions taken at that time. And then there are other, like forming a homogeneous group for functional operational efficiency and creating habits of savings and credit. You know, we all know the Bangladesh Gramin Bank example. We all know. And then we also know the Bangladesh Gramin Bank, Dr. Muhammad Yunus was recognized and given the Nobel Prize. But we really do not know about our own model. This is a saving-led model. Why it is saving-led model? If we all know that our mothers and grandmothers, they used to save a little bit for the future, and that was the one decision that women can do, the savings, and that saving can empower them rather to borrow, but not to go and depend on the government doles and the credit. And really you can see how it has helped in this process. And another feature of this credit product, whenever we go to the bank today, we go and ask for the loan, but the first question the bank asks is, what for are you just going to take the loan? Many times we say that it is for housing purpose, flat purchases, or consumption like TV and other things, or the business enterprises, or some shops or business or industry establishment. But without any purpose, there is no loan given to anybody in the country till 1992, and then thereafter 1996 onwards by all the banks. It is the only poor women group who have been provided this facility without any purposes attached to this. The loan will be provided. Why it was given particularly? That's what I am going to say, that loan is open-ended. It can be used by the women group. Of course, there are the group members who are from men also. And to meet their family requirement, first is the food, then the health, and then education, and whatever is necessary, whether it is for clothing and others. Unless the family is prospered, or having some minimum dignity in the family, there's no business initiative will help. So then after that, the kind of business development will take place, and from the second leap, we will go further forward to go for the enterprises development. And this enterprise development is the third phase, and which is happening today. Now, if we look at today's progress in 2022, you see the huge kind of progress. 11.9 million groups are created in the country, and 14.2 crores of families are involved in it. You think of it, even each family having 5 members, then what a number of people are involved in this particular movement. The savings mobilized by these women is around 47,000 crore and loan taken by them is around 1 lakh crore and outstanding is about 1.5 lakh crore. So this speaks the potential we can harness, that will be leading to their own prosperity. And this has gone into every nook and corner of the country. Every small villages of the country is having now this concept. It was a difficult, very, very difficult task. Today we can analyze, we can go for study, prepare a case study, but we know, we face the difficulties of making this happen, because it was not easy for us to convince the bankers. When I was a faculty in Bankers Institute of Rural Development in Lucknow, then we have seen that the concept itself was not understood by the bankers. Why? Because it is the deviation from the existing banking practices. So that is how it was a big challenge. And similarly, the taking care of the people, particularly group members, training them, capacity building was a huge task which was accomplished by NABARD with even its own grant support. By seeing the progress, 1999 onwards, this poverty alleviation program of Government of India has been changed to this particular concept with a self-help group model. And thereafter in 2011 onwards, so this particular program has been renamed as a National Livelihood Mission. So under this particular concept is going on. But government, whenever government comes in, so naturally you will find there are certain flaws as well in the system, and these are the systemic issues. Other than that, so this has been going on. I can say that there are many times many women who were even refusing the grant. They were saying we will go for loans. Even if state like UP, from there even women are refusing. Those days, that was the kind of power and confidence developed on them, and that's how this has happened. So I took up, because after discussing with our student, I find that there is a necessity for them to get some evidence. So took up a kind of a research study as a case, and then we had, with the time series data we have used for 12 years, and then all the different kind of variables. We looked at whether it really supports the livelihood aspects of the families, which was the basic concept and adopted by NABARD in 1996. And that is how we just took different variables, that is the savings, loans, and then literacy rate, infant mortality, and rates with the income generated by them. And we observed that these are the criteria are positively correlated. And this movement has helped that improving the income of the women, improving the literacy rate, and also decrease the IMR. And then SHG members became more aware and started participating with the men folk in the panchayats and other social developmental initiative and administrative initiative. Way back in 1999-2000, when this particular program was initiated in UP, and you will see that the progress in UP is not that fantastic as it is in southern states. So, but till then, the women, even the tribal women, became a panchayat members and then panchayat leader as well, and unable to come out and speak to us, including the district magistrate, but still she was discharging her duties. That is the kind of empowerment happened through this particular model, and that is how they are moving with the male folk with equally. So there is no distinction. Keeping in view, we have further analyzed this and found that this is directly correlation with the Sustainable Development Goal. Sustainable Development Goal, and there are 5 particular goals are there which I have indicated. SDG 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, which are directly connected and interconnected, and that has helped. That is no poverty, zero hunger, healthy life, quality education and gender equality. So that is how it has happened. Just few examples we have just taken, just around 15 cases, 15 SHGs. We found that the level of income increased in a shorter time, varying very widely from 600 to 20,000 rupees per group. And these particular things now, many cases you will find the women products are being exported as well. Even in Maharashtra, Kolhapur districts, Pune districts, so the women are doing this. So that is a kind of progress happened. Let me take you, just give a complete, distinct one women leader's case. It's a very distinct women leader case in Tamil Nadu. You all must be knowing today that is a Chinna Pillai, one lady who is very empowered person, led this SHG movement as a community banking movement through the SHGs. It started, before that I will just show this one thing. I think some of you must have seen this particular picture. You can just look at it. The then Prime Minister, Sri Atalji, with great women power, empowerment and the skill that illiterate lady Chinna Pillai depicted and became a leader. So he bowed down and touching the feet of that woman. So this is a very fantastic movement, and we had captured this from, and for motivating purpose we have distributed this among crores of people and group in the country. So you can just look at it. Atalji is still there, Atalji at that time. This was the case of 1999. So why it is so? You can see the kind of progress she made it single-handedly. So she had got it mobilized around 500 crores and bank loan of 1500 crores, and then almost 60,000 groups have been created involving about 1.2 million families. One particular leader, one particular woman took that initiative, and with this 60,000 SHG groups involving 1.2 million family, it is such a great kind of work she did it, that too after joining this. As mark of the respects, as also she has been recognized with a different award. This award was the Sri Shakti Puruskar in 1999. After that, several other awards, including in 2019, she has been given this Padma Shri award as well. In 2019, Padma Shri. Yeah. So this is how things happen, and Dr. Kalam was one of the most appreciative person of her work. So this is how. So we can conclude that such as poor people can make such a big change, and this change can be reflected globally, whether it is for their own livelihood development and management, and or it is a part of the social development and global sustainability issue. That is how we can conclude. This is the kind of broad model which has been following by NABARD. So long NABARD and RBI funded to promote and facilitate this, but then formation, revival of SHG's training and capacity building, it is a big job. Including the bankers training was also supported. Loans to SHG as an affordable rate by the banks, and savings and banking habit creation, that was the beginning. This was the model. But now how to do it, how to go about. It is not once if you are loaning them. You will find many of the groups are not functioning today. So that is why it is necessary that you have to continuously provide them support. Slowly from micro enterprises to the macro enterprises it will be developing. And this is the kind of a model involving all the partners, including private, public and the governments in the whole process of development. So at the end I would say that for sustainable livelihood management purpose, from this micro level, this is the best model for our Indian scenario. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and queries, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insights into multidimensional poverty, inclusive development, and role of SHGs in women empowerment. Mr. Sean O'Brien is Vice President and Global Head, SAS Education and Customer Support, SAS USA. He could not join us today, but has very kindly sent his video recorded keynote address. I request the ITS to kindly play the video.
Thank you, Dr. Singhania, Dr. Banerjee, Dr. Prusti, and Dr. Adhikaria for organizing this conference and for giving me an opportunity to speak. Thank you also for advancing management research. The work that you're doing right now will have a big effect on the economic development of and the societal development of your country. I'm Sean O'Brien. I'm the Senior Vice President of Education and Customer Success for SAS. And for those of you that aren't familiar, SAS is a global leader in analytics and AI and machine learning software. SAS was founded in 1976, coming out of North Carolina State University to solve agricultural experimental problems. We were the first analytical software made. Now, SAS can be found in every industry, used by more than 20,000 companies in more than 150 countries. And just a couple examples, clinical research companies use SAS to conduct clinical trials. Banks use SAS to determine credit risk, predict fraud, and for marketing analytics. Manufacturers use SAS for quality assurance, computer vision, to detect defect management. Airlines use SAS for schedule optimization and to predict asset maintenance. Governments use SAS to find tax evasion, for water quality management, for conducting population census, for predicting flooding, and many, many, many other areas. SAS is in every industry and is applied anywhere that data can be brought to answer a question. I've worked for SAS for 25 years, 26 years now in June. In all of those years, I've worked with companies, governments, and universities to develop analytics programs, nearly all of which is related to changes in specific industries and how they can apply analytics to solve their problems. I've been doing work in India for the past 15 years, and I was in India just 4 weeks ago. I'm sorry that I can't be with you today. I'm actually traveling while the conference is going on for other business. But just 4 weeks ago, I was in Rajasthan and I was in Maharashtra. And I had a chance to meet Dr. Banerjee and her team from your university. While there, I also met with 4 banks and the Mumbai Corporation. I learned about the kinds of challenges and the kinds of innovation that are occurring in that space. While I was in India, I could see that there was growth everywhere. And in my 15 years of being in India, I've seen advances in growth and improvement in everything. What struck me visually this time was the infrastructure projects on roads, highways, metro lines being built, water projects, the electrical grid projects. I was struck in the face how India is preparing and building its successful future. And what I want to talk to you about today is the changing nature of work and how these changes are elevating the importance of human capital development and what you can do to contribute to your society and economy to prepare human capital to adjust to these changes. And the metaphor that I'm going to give you really as a reflection to what I saw in India as a people preparing for the future is that human capital and talent should be deemed as critical infrastructure for your future. So let me share a few slides with you to give you some background data to support what I'm saying. The first most important thing that I want to tell you is I was prepared to present to you, and I had not just a straight talk that I can give, but literally as I was preparing to hit record, I received in my email inbox a copy of the Future of Jobs report from the World Economic Forum. And when I started looking through it, I just thought, This data has got to be shared at this conference. Everybody's got to recognize this. For many of you, maybe all of you, none of this will come as a surprise, but it's useful to see that this is recognized at every level and to understand the scope of the change that's going to come from what they communicate here. So first, macro trend driving business transformation. The number one reported thing that companies say is going to drive business transformation for them is increased adoption of new and frontier technologies. This is so and probably always has been so. And I'll share with you later on how we've been going through this in the computing space for the last 40, 50 years, these kinds of adoption of technology and them rippling through our workforce and our skill development. The first key finding coming out of the report is that employers anticipate a structural labor market churn of 23% of jobs. It means that things that used to be jobs won't be jobs as technology gets adopted and brought in, but new jobs will be created. So the simplest way that I like to explain this is that once upon a time, 90% of the population were involved in agriculture, and now less than 2% of the population are involved in agriculture, but we nearly all still have jobs. So new jobs are created. You understand this concept. Second key finding is that big data, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence are the most likely technology to be adopted. Again, if you've paid attention even anything on social media, you'll know of ChatGPT, which is a specific application of a large language model and neural networking. And this is really just the dawn of a whole new age of AI. Big data and analytics will be the top technology adoption impact on jobs is what they report in their findings. It's interesting that you can see the climate change mitigation technology, which is a topic that I understand will be covered in the conference, is the number 2 area, and environmental management technologies is 3. Underlying analytic skills are embedded in any of these areas. No matter what the problem is that somebody's working on, one's ability to understand how to bring data and analytics to bear on that problem will have an impact on one's ability to bring change. Third finding is that AI and machine learning specialists will be the top growing job area. According to the areas of new jobs and lost jobs, right? Former agriculture, participation in agriculture, now participation in the knowledge economy. AI and machine learning specialist is number 1. But business intelligence analyst is number 3. Information security analyst 4. Data analyst and scientist number 6. Big data specialist number 8. You can see it's rippling through all job categories, and it will hit many majors, the majors that students study in universities. But an interesting sub on this is that number 2 is sustainability specialist. And being familiar with some companies that are working in this space, I know that all of their work starts from the premise of what are we trying to solve for? How do we measure the current state of this? How do we bring some technology to bear to make a change? And then how do we measure the impact of it? And in all of those cases, even number 2, sustainability specialist, implicitly requires that these people have data analytical skills. Something that I've had to communicate over the years to students when I've been giving addresses to students is that analytic skills are necessary but not sufficient. I want to break this up into 2 parts. The first most important thing is that analytical skills are necessary. It's not enough to know how to produce a graph. It's not enough to know how to build a neural network model. One must actually understand the underlying math in order to be able to get value out of that model, to be able to understand what it's doing and to know how to make it be properly applied to your problem. So what I'm showing you here are graphs of 6 different activation functions that can be used when running a neural network. For 30 years, there was only one activation function, the sigmoid. And what people on the edge of research began to find is this activation function underperformed and under-modeled reality with anything in the data set that had negative numbers or different changes in slope across it. So different activations, people began to develop different activation functions. And so for just a couple years, we had 6 activation functions. But even just recently, within the last year or so, a new activation function, Swish, which is actually now maybe 3 years old, was developed that allows the model to have negative values and positive values on a changing slope, and that this helps the neural network train itself better and not reach the end of its gain when it hits the end of a distribution. The takeaway from this is you have to know the underlying math to get value out of the work that you're doing, but that's not sufficient. There's also a need for creative thinking skills, and I call these problem-solving skills. So respondents to the survey identified creative thinking as the number 2 area for the most important skills for workers. I've hired a lot of analysts. I've trained a lot of analysts. I've worked with a lot of companies that are doing work in this space. And the hardest thing that I find to hire is people that know how to form the problem into a math problem, that know how to understand what they're trying to solve for and turn it into something that can be expressed in data, measured, and understand its application. And that's a creative thinking skill. What I call a problem formation skill is creative thinking. And then once one has the analytics, then there's creativeness necessary in how to interpret it and how to apply it. The next key finding, the last key finding that I'm going to talk about, is that companies are not confident on their ability to hire workers in these skill areas. They're not confident in the availability of workers in these skill areas. And where that fits in is that the respondents to the survey say that their prioritization for reskilling and upskilling, number 1 is analytical thinking, number 2 is creative thinking. Pause for just a second. There are very few well-crafted creative thinking skill programs. So this is an area to think about. Like many, many things in life, we get better. We humans get better at something when we practice it. So giving students cases that require creative thinking, giving students creative thinking exercises are ways for them to exercise those skills. And so this is what I mean by the companies say they're not confident in the availability to have these skills, is they're confident that they can train their existing work staff to solve the problems that are in front of them now. But they're not confident that universities are going to produce enough people with the cutting edge skills to allow them to do this kind of work. And notice that AI and big data they have at number 3. We've been through this kind of economy-wide reskilling before. 70s and 80s, we had our first databases, and we needed a whole new job category. We needed a database administrator. And whole new companies and industries were born as this came about. In the 90s, we had the internet and e-commerce, and in manufacturing, we had Six Sigma training. And again, there were whole new job categories created, and universities and industry created training programs to teach people how to do these things, often surrounded by certifications that became a credential that industry could use to hire. 2000s and 2010s, we had social media, e-commerce rippling now as a standard for anybody doing any kind of business with consumers. And again, new industries popping up, creating whole new economies that didn't exist prior. And so what we're in right now is a new wave. But each of these should not be viewed discrete. Each of these waves are a continuum for an increasing complexity of work. And this increasing complexity is placing a compression on people, is placing a compression on talent, such that the highest cognitive skill people are able to capture the most returns. So what you do to help bring a base understanding for a base understanding of data, a base understanding of how to do analytics into every major, regardless of what they're studying, you'll be preparing people for the future that's coming. So the way that I think about this, and the metaphor that I want to apply from what I visibly saw when I was in India, is that analytics talent supply chain is the critical infrastructure, is part of the critical infrastructure that you will need to help build to help shape and determine the future of the society that you're in and the economy that you're in. What is an analytics talent supply chain? That is university programs, it's private sector programs, it's training that's on the internet. All of this, any of these programs that upskill people and get young people, especially that are coming through the university chain now, to have as one of their skills an ability to analyze data and form problems. Anything that you can do in research in the space to advance your industry on specific application of problems, and anything that you can do to build programs that get your students that have this base, is what I'm trying to inspire you to build into what you're doing today. Thank you for inviting me to the conference. I look forward to having a chance to be back in India soon and to do more work directly with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. We are very honored to have amongst us Professor Dr. Sudhir Kumar Barai, Director, BITS Pilani Campus. He has joined us online and I request him to deliver his address. Sir, are we audible to you?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is it all right? My audio is fine?
Yes, sir, it's clear. You may start, sir.
Thank you so much. Good morning to all of you. It is always a pleasure to be on an international conference forum, which is on management and research. So first of all, I must say that the heartiest congratulations to all the team members from SPSU for organizing the international conference on management research and cases 2023 in association with School of Management, SPSU. Of course, the Center for Innovation, Skills and the Social Entrepreneurship Center, and of course the European Extra Mile Center of African Studies, which has been also the integral part of this conference. I'm very happy to be here today on this very auspicious occasions of the International Conference on Management and Research. I'll keep it my speech very brief to the point. I'm delighted to know that the various interaction sessions have been organized on the very thematic, very relevant area, specifically the energy. You mentioned about the G20, about the geopolitical issues, the hospitality management, the travel, the tourism, the finance, information technologies, HR, international relations, economics, and so on. Having well-crafted this program, I think I must congratulate all the team members for curating this whole international conference where the people will come from a different spectrums and they would be working together on presenting the papers and sharing their thought process and so on. I would like to congratulate the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Padmakali Banerjee, and the SPSU family for inaugurating today the STAR, the SPSU Training Academy and Research Center. It's a very well thought center. I'm sure is going to open up many opportunities for the participants as well, because they are also there and they will be having the first-hand experience about the future vision and mission of this particular center. Someone has said very rightly, I'm little getting poetic about it, and just say that the one of the poet who said, the Said Siddiqui, he said very beautifully. And why I'm contextualizing this statement from him is that Professor Banerjee, Honorable Vice Chancellor, she highlighted one point that you need to make every moment count and every moment to be exploited fully. So the couplet goes like this. It says, "एक पल को रुकने से दूर हो गई मंजिल, एक पल को रुकने से दूर हो गई मंजिल, सिर्फ हम नहीं चलते, रास्ते भी चलते हैं." It means that if you stop for a moment, then definitely the goal and the destination is going to go away very far from you. But we should not forget any point of time that when we're walking on the road is also actually walking with us. And this conference actually is very important because it allows the different individuals to come in this conference and share their thoughts and research work, where actually the ensemble of all this exercise of sharing the knowledge is going to take to a different destination together. And that is where, and I think one needs to make the best out of every moment which has been given in this conference. I wish that all the participants will take the clue from the Professor Banerjee's speech and also make the best out of this conference. Now, whenever you bring together a different background people, it's like an elephant which is being touched by the blind people. Which part of the elephant body you are touching it and what interpretation you make it, that is very, very important. So for any given problem, if the finance person will look at it, he or she will look at differently. The sociology person will look at that problem in differently. Engineering person will look that problem very differently. But at the end of the day, all of us are together trying to solve the problem. I'm very happy to hear the speech from Professor Saha and O'Brien. What actually it brings us a question to all of us. On one side, Professor Saha highlighted the problems contextualizing India. On other side, O'Brien has highlighted the problems which are contextualized with the future of jobs. Okay, now when you talk about that, I think this conference is going to be a greater platform, and I have a suggestion from my side to all the participants, all the faculty members and the leading researchers over there. Why can't we just look at the future of jobs in the context of India? Because Future of Jobs World Economic Forum document talks about a very high level kind of the job opportunities and the demand which would be there, looking at a very different level of a train. But what we want to look at it is that can we look at the future of jobs in the context of India, looking at the strata. There is a large number of people out there who are actually the people who needs the directions, the employment. We have an academic institution of a higher education learning, but those institutions are catering only a certain set of people. But if you really want to create a very huge societal impact, then we need to look at the problems and the jobs and opportunity for those set of people. And that is where I think the Center of Innovations in Skills and Social Entrepreneurship at SPSU can think about it, that can we create a documentations and carry out a very systematic SWOT study in context of India, which would have a document telling that future of jobs. What are going to be the future of jobs in India? Looking at the strength, the weaknesses, opportunity, and of course the threat from that point of view. So I think this is my suggestion to all the participants to think in that way. Maybe the end of the conference, you can come out with a very action item based document. The second thing which I just want to tell you is that on one side, I heard about the new education policy and the contextualizing the new education policy. Now, NEP 2020, when we are talking about it, we must make sure that NEP 2020 is not only applicable or looking at the holistic learning at a very high education institutions. We also should look at from the academic institutions which are of the secondary schools or primary schools. So can we come out kind of a program where when we are going to do deliberations and discussions on management research and cases for the organizations, and they are going to get benefited, can we catch them early situation, conduct some kind of programs which could be bringing the school children to the SPSU, the School of Management, and give them a summer camp on the context of exposing them to various aspects of management, be it the finance, be it the information technology, be it the human resources management, be it the economics, anything. And that is where, if we inspire these school children, that is something which would be very, very useful, because that would lead them to kind of open up themselves and look at the problems differently. And connecting this with the societal impact, they're learning how it impacts to the society. This is something which if we do that, then I think it would be good. And I'm telling this based on our personal experience at BITS Pilani, that at BITS Pilani we have been conducting this we call Young Entrepreneurship Boot Camp, where the school children from 9th grade to 12th grade, they have come to the campus, and we have conducted this boot camps, and it was found that the students are absolutely delighted to be in an institution of a higher education. Their adaptability is tremendous. They are like a dry sponge. They want to absorb every good things which is happening around them. And I think the SPSU School of Management can take a lead and come out with some kind of a boot camp which can really help the school children bring the school children for 10 days to a campus and expose them to different things. And I'm sure that the bringing the NEP 2020, the school children would be brought to the campus. In this just closing, my heartiest congratulations to all the organizers or Icmrc 2023. I wish all the participants all the best and great learning experience during this conference. Thank you so much for inviting me on this occasion. In any form, if I could be helpful to all of you, just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Borai, for really coming here. Some of your thoughts, we will take this up, and a lot of takeaways from your thoughts, and I think these are just thought leadership. So yes, it is bringing together lots of ideas to look at the world problems, and I also take this opportunity to also invite you. And I have been telling Seva, and she said you are busy, so but we are definitely going to plan this very soon. Thank you very much, and namaskar.
Thank
you
you
can
so
see a lot of
much. Thank
people
you.
who have come from far and near to listen to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
We have amongst us very multifaceted HR professional, Mr. Ashish Bhalla, who is the Director HR and Head Campus Relations, HCL Tech Noida. I request him to kindly deliver his address. Please, sir.
Morning, everyone. Still morning. Yeah. I hope I'll get 10 minutes. I know we're running late. Good part, no presentation. So we can just look at on the go. So I'm Ashish Bhalla, while a long essay been written, and it's not from ChatGPT, it's actual. Okay. Yeah, I've been with HCL for around 20 years now. Started as a fresher, so maybe either I did not get any other job outside, or I did not find the need to look for a job outside. So for me, second one is true. Thank you for the invite. It's been an honor to be here, and whatever I'm going to speak about, it has a lot of interlock and you can say overlap with what VC ma'am said, which Sean said, or which Sudhir sir was saying. That it's all about VUCA world, and none other than us would have actually understood the meaning of it, because we are going through it every day. Every day we plan something, and next day it turns out that plan will not work. And that is where all this research, all this analytics that comes into picture. What we need to keep in mind is whatever we do, how long it will sustain. We do research, we plan something, we do analytics. First is our sample data, is it homogeneous or heterogeneous? Does it cover all type of diversified population, gender, caste, states, everything? And then the education backgrounds. Because whatever decision we take, it should not be just one-sided, or it may not, we should not have a decision which will not sustain the changes that are coming up. VUCA, it's not always natural, we create it, right? Like whatever happening with Ukraine-Russia war, it's created by us, and that has an impact on economy now. So whatever 2 years back, so say pre-COVID, there was something going on, COVID came up, and then all those plans did not work. Everybody planned a BCP, business continuity plan. We also planned BCP as, okay, some safe money somewhere. But nobody thought of that scale of a problem where business continuity plan will not work, or even our backup plan will not work. So, and then now the economy, the way it is, everybody is struggling, and every sector is under stress. Now, obviously, it has a job impact, what Sean was mentioning, that the job profiles are changing very fast. I would say very, very fast. And by the time we realize that change, it changes again. So what we need to look at is, one is we should be job ready, market ready, and we should have that behavior of adaptability. Today the problem is we say, no, okay, I'm software engineer, that's it. I don't want to learn, right? Or whatever I've learned, that will just good enough for me. It's not like early government jobs, you start as a clerk, or you retire as a clerk, you get the benefits, and it's a settled life, 9 to 5 job, no laptop, so you're not taking any work home. The time has changed. And this is where the generation today, we are working with all Gen X, Gen Y, then Gen Z, Alpha is coming, right? So within that same organization with so many generations coming in, how much of those policies will work? And I was looking at when we say one is talent acquisition, that has its own problems now. And what I do is I go to almost, I don't know, thousands of colleges and hire 30,000 freshers every year. So, and that too in all streams. So that is BTech, MTech, CA, Law, Graduate, MBA, BBAs, and anything, Pharma, MBA, MBBS also I hire. Now people ask me, being an IT company, why you hire MBBS? So I don't have to do the coding. I hire them to understand our client business. So the problem I see is, one is the functional problem, that the students, obviously, you can't expect college to keep changing every 3 months or 6 months. They can't change the curriculum. But what additional you can add? College can give you the platform, but how much you are putting your effort to get that additional knowledge or become job ready, right? How much you know the current scenarios, current market requirement, current changes. That is one. That is the functional competency perspective. Second is your behavioral competency. And I think in today's world, behavior is more important than functional. If you have the right attitude, you can do any job, any day. VUCA will come and go. VUCA will come in different faces, different names, different stages, with different colors. You can still survive. I've seen IT industry in different ways. It was more of customer service oriented. Then it moved to more of product oriented. Now it's all about experience, right? Making life easy. ChatGPT, right? For me today, ChatGPT is good. Why? Because it saves my time. It gives me ready speech. Okay, but I was addressing Ahmedabad a month back, and it came up on ChatGPT. I said it's not good for students. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my view. What student has to do? It's the learnability. It's a skill. Learnability itself is a skill, and what we are trying to do is we are going to spoil that skill. When we did in our times, right? We did with books. And we used to really go and find books and then read through all the book to find just 2-line answer. But going through all those books, all those pages also registered something in our head, and that increased our learnability also. So ChatGPT at student stage, my belief is it should be blocked. I know some students may not be liking me, but that's how it is. You may find ChatGPT is an easy way for you, but it's not going to help you in long run. Okay, I think these are the broadest perspective I would want to keep while you do any research. Look at 360-degree view. You look at left and right of that data point, how that data starts and how it will end. Who are the users of that research? Whether it has that scale and sustainability to look at those market challenges and pressure, and whether it covers all perspectives of life. So thank you very much, and I again appreciate for all of you to invite me. And Sangram, I know he's been chasing me, so sorry. I know I'm sometimes very tough to be reached out to. So Sangram and Tushar, thank you for inviting. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. I feel very honored to invite a very dynamic leader, Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran, Director, NTPC School of Business, Noida, to deliver her address to the August gathering. Please, ma'am.
Can I walk? Good morning. Morning to khatam ho gayi. Good afternoon. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here, but I also know that, my time is already over, the one which was scheduled. But nonetheless, I will try to be as short and crisp as Mr. Balla has done. So wonderful to hear you, and I'm happy that we are thinking on the same platform, we are thinking the same background. I would like to come here as I know that I am audible. I'll give you another mic. Yeah, so that's perfectly fine. Can for a moment we do something? Are you all ready? Yes, ma'am. एक सेकंड के लिए अपना मोबाइल थोड़ा सा एक सेकंड आपको खड़े रहना पड़ेगा मेरे को कौन पकड़ेगा? Yeah, so you hold it for me. One student can come. अरे नहीं मैम ये बहुत अच्छे हैं. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to make you just clap for 3 times. Start. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. Now raise your right hand. Raise your left hand. Look at that. I wanted people to make that mistake because I was raising my right hand. Everybody again started doing this. Thank you, my dear. This was needed because we need to break the barriers. Yeah, I will. Okay, sorry. So we need to break the barriers of what we think, do, act, realize, and actually perform. Next activity. Every youth is busy with their mobile since last that maroon shirt girl from this blue shirt boy. Still she's engaged. Hi, hello. I'm here. Can we just look at your digital well-being today? Go to your setting and let's do. किसी का भी 10 मिनट से कम आएगा तो आज मैं 1000 रुपया अभी देती हूँ. I will award 1000 rupees if your digital well-being screenshot is telling you it is less than 10 minutes. I want to thread through what Dr. Saha, Sean, and then Professor Barai, and then Ashish ji, you said. I had been a hardcore researcher and a hardcore trainer for last 34 years. Mr. C.P. Jain would recognize me. I was 20 when I started training. 20 when I started training. As a researcher, I want all of you to please think about. Can I have your attention, my dear? Yeah, so let me have this, that when you are living being, be aware of your surrounding. It is so important because the seeds of research are born when you are aware of your surroundings. I would like to give you a very small example. My son was only 8-year-old when we went for a picnic, again Mr. C.P. Jain is the reference, where marble cutting units were there in Udaipur. On the way, he saw white powder lying all across the road. Then he asked what it is. Then I said, it is the marble slurry. He said, can I pick some? I said, yeah, please pick. So he took a bag full of that and he said, Mama, did you notice one thing? 8-year boy. I said, what? Wherever this white powder is there, there is no single twig of a grass even. So I want to go home. I will sow wheat in various compositions with the, soil. So he took 10 small pots. One pot had different consistency of the slurry mixed with the good soil.
So 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, like that up to 100%. And every pot he sowed certain seeds. Those seeds were regularly monitored with water, air, whatever sunlight. And after 3 days, 100% soil pot had a small fructification. There, you know, that ankuran ho chuka tha uske andar. And slowly it was, you know, after 40% of the soil, it was not growing. On this project, he got the National Child Scientist Award. I don't want to tell this, that why this happened. It is in our parenting. Do we, you know, seed them with the thought-provoking mind? Are we capable as a parent, as a sibling, as a brother or a sister or a daughter or a son to ask question? The schools in the first place, first day of every child in India is the first action taught by a teacher in the nursery classes, chup. Yes or no? And that is the killer. We are not inviting them to ask questions. A questioning mind is an Altius mind. It is so important. Going back to your self-help groups, sir, I had been in UN Women and I myself have led 117 self-help groups, created them. Why? Because we were part of certain social immersions and going through, I learned from my son, look at your surroundings. Can you do something and can you be a part of solution and not the part of a problem? So the moment I go, I see the women taking water from away and, you know, having one or the other pitcher on their head. Can we make it more easy? So one of the students has made a cart, one-wheel cart, which can have 11 pots together, and even if it is a different terrain, you can, you know, sail it through. So can you be a part of the solution? This is research. This is a case research. This is a management for me. This is what you can make a difference in somebody's life. Can you do that? It is so much important. I would like to say here, ma'am, like Dr. Barai was telling that you have this skill. Today morning, I was discussing, see, this is how my mind works. I just want to give an example and I will finish with this because I'm cautious of the time. I'll tell you, today morning, my maid servant did not come. And for a few months, I'm away from home. So I saw that the cleanliness is not up to the mark. And then I started calling my friends, is any maid servant available? No, nobody wants to work, okay? It's very difficult to get a good maid servant. Okay, fine. While I'm coming to SPSU campus, there is a place where, you know, there is a junction where lots of laborers stand. And my driver said, these poor people come from far away, waking up at middle of night at 3 a.m., cooking their, food, rotis, and coming, they take the bus at 5 a.m. because there's only one bus, and they land here at 7. And from 7 to 9, they just sit here to wait that somebody can take for contract labor. Okay? So I stopped, I asked, bhai, ek husband, wife and a child, they were there. And I said, would you be ready to work at my home? I'll give you a A-class staying quarter and I will pay you 15,000 rupees, which would be a dignity. And the man still can go and work. He said, I'm not interested. I said, how much are you earning? He said, 3,000-4,000 is what we are earning, all three together, mind you. Now, I would request, if you have a skill center, can we not think creating governance for the home management as a skill set? And if you provide 100 women with such skill, I'm telling you, I would be happy to hire the lady for 20,000 rupees a month with a dignity. With a dignity. So can we be thinking in that way? Can we be, management is life and life is management. It is not restricted to social science, science, technology, agriculture, pharma, this thing, that thing. No dear. Management is man-age-men-tea. Yeah? So it is like, how do you look at the various things? Can you make it happen for yourself, for the society, for the nation building, and make this world a better place to live? Mobile छोड़ेंगे तो अपनी intelligence को grow करेंगे. आपकी intelligence को खा रहा है mobile. Chat GPT, if you are using, you are losing onto your intelligentsia here. Use your brain, because if you don't use it, you are going to lose it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think one seed, food for thought, is about social entrepreneurship. And I agree that, you know, your mental faculty, the cognition, which is the most important higher order mental things like thinking, perceptions, I think you really touched some very important point. So to my skill center, I have Dr. Shivani and Dr. Shweta. I think it's a very interesting thought of upskilling women. In fact, the project they were working on, the Erasmus Plus, which was also to empower women. So I think I like that idea of how do you create, and very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your thought-provoking speech. We feel very delighted to have a gamut of experts from industry and academia in today's inaugural session. And as a token of our appreciation towards them, we would like to felicitate them with mementos. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Padma Kali Banerjee, Pro-President Colonel Dr. Sanjeev Tomar Sir, all deans, director placement to kindly come and honor them with Uparna, Pag and mementos. I request the following speakers and dignitaries to please come and accept the mementos. Professor Dr. Uday Shankar Saha, please sir. Mr. Ashish Bhalla. Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran. Professor Dr. Kiran Devendra. Mr. Yogesh Kochar. Mr. Vivek Iyer, please, sir. Professor Dr. Sudhir Kumar Birai, I request Dean School of Management to accept on his behalf. Please, sir. Birai. So, yes. So, we ask Dean School of Management to accept on his behalf. So, Dr. Seba would carry for... No, no, sir. Just the memento. Just the memento. Yes, sir. Seba. She's not here.
This is for the camera, right?
Yeah. Professor Dr. Neena Muncharji. No, ma'am. Please do the honors.
Shweta, you must come in the camera. That's a project we have.
Memento.
Professor Dr. Vibhor Paliwal. So please wait.
We have great photographers, huh? Thank you for that.
Colonel Narendra Singh Shaktawat.
Colonel to Colonel, I think is it. This will always remind you of us in your office.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I would now like to invite Professor Dr. Kiran Devendra, former professor and head Department of Elementary Education, NCERT, New Delhi, and former professor and head History Department, MET School of Liberal Arts, MET and University, Haryana, to kindly address the gathering with her words of wisdom. Please, ma'am. Sure, sure.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Padma Kali Banerjee, for having me over here and giving me an experience of listening to most beautiful experts here. I felt so great as I walked into the campus, which felt like a vibrant campus. And as we walked into the hall, the seminar hall, we saw the statue of the founder, the late Singhania ji. And I was so happy that the Vice Chancellor did mention that he was part of the Constituent Assembly that drafted the Constitution of India. So I felt very, very good that we had people in the British times. They were so good that they could be a part of writing such a beautiful document. Now, I am also very much aware that I am going to talk about creating a positive work culture in institutions, in an institution which already has one with the joining of Professor Padma Kali Banerjee. Those of us who have worked with her have seen, and all of us have seen it today, that how she doesn't differentiate between her colleagues. She doesn't keep things to herself, and she was asking everyone to join. That is what I'm going to talk about, and I feel that this university can be an example of having a positive, healthy, vibrant environment for the people who work here, for the students who study here, for the researchers, and also the staff. Now, those of us, and I'm sure most of us here, have read Viktor Frankl's Search for Meaning. Each one of us needs a meaning every day. And those of us who have a meaning in life, we have hope. And with hope, we try to find solutions to the challenges that we face. And I'm happy that, we talked about not using technology for students, because we have seen that how it is difficult for parents to take away the tabs from their children. They do not want to talk to you, and the same is happening on the roads. We find everyone with the mobiles. Even in these meetings, everyone is trying to serve the messages, trying to send messages, and it feels very sad. It was such a pleasure to listen to the earlier speakers and to the principal of BITS Pilani. Each one of us who's sitting here should be able to, as leaders, as team leaders, be able to speak without a paper like you did. She started it. She has always been doing that when we saw it for years in MIT. Because you see, it is very important for us to internalize, to read, internalize, and not allow technology to take over ideas. Over the last 4 decades of my professional life, I have seen that how the work cultures, they impact the teams, the employees, either positively or negatively. The examples of positive work culture, we have been talking about it, but they actually do not exist. Most of us talk about these things, but when it comes to practice, most of us, we like to have power, authority with us. And as you were mentioning, the teachers in the schools have played a great role in destroying the personalities of children, taking away the happiness of the children. For creating discipline, I don't think we need to talk about it. Those of us who have read the book of Sylvia Ashton Warner, the teacher, we find that it is very easy to talk to children, to talk to an audience, because you need to engage them. The disturbance will be there when we fail to engage. Why do we fail to engage? Because we come to the class, or a leader comes for a meeting without a preparation. You see, you may prepare your PPT, but if you have not internalized it, if you have just cluttered the PPT, not allowed it to breathe, then it is not going to, everyone would come to know that the leader is not prepared. the leader has to give clear directions. The objective has to be clear. Not all the time you have to talk of planning and strategization. That should only come when the objectives are clear. And because the time is short, I'm trying to avoid many things. But what is more important for leaders is to ensure that they understand the difficulties of their teams. Suppose a family member of a team member is ill. The team member falls sick, or there is an emotionally overwhelmed employee. What do? Do we pass a judgment, or do we ask the other person of the team to step in? That should be the management at every workplace, universities, industry, and schools, colleges. It is very important that we understand the team. The spirit of the team will only be healthy if the leader tries to take care of it. Why is it that those of us who have come here have experienced a great team, because it had been, every message had been clearly passed by the team leader. Why was it that we were receiving the messages? Because it was ensured by the team leader that there should be no gap. And this is how it should be. And another thing which is very important in these days is that since most of the offices, most of the institutions have now started depending on technology, and everyone is on the laptop for more than 10 hours in private companies, it is very difficult, and it is causing health havocs. And not only physical, but lot of mental health issues have been noticed in most of the institutions. In India, tragically, we all like to talk about a person who says, "अरे मैं तो psychiatrist के गया था," या "मैं तो psychologist के गया था." एक बारी मैं ही चली गई थी, and somebody called up my husband, "आपकी wife को mental problem है?" And what the psychiatrist told me, I had taken somebody to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist told me that look at the tragedy that we face. All the OPDs are in front, but the mental OPD is at the back. The psychiatry ward and the psychiatry OPD, they are isolated. So this is what progress we are talking about. It is so unfortunate that we only like to talk about success. We only like to talk about, people who have everything. But I'm happy that she raised the issue of the labor who come in the morning and they are happy with so little. But we still need to ensure that somehow or the other, each one of us who is in the professional life is able to achieve something. Everybody is made to feel important. Everybody's work is appreciated. And if we ever find that a colleague's work is not up to the mark, kindly don't discuss it in his or her absence with the rest of the team. That is going to be devastating for the team member who has been facing a challenge. Never allow such situations, because then your team collapses. And let me tell you, even if 2 or 3 team members, they have an issue, don't worry. You will be able to have so much done with the rest of them. And when the 2 will join, they will make it up. And here I would like to give an example of a woman engineer in China whose husband was very critically ill. And her job was to build the bridges. So what she did was that she kept on saying, I would need leave, I would need leave, and each time it got sanctioned. She took the leave for 2 years. The husband got well, and the woman engineer completed all her tasks on time. And since all of us are working all the time, it was a good break when she asked us to clap. It was a good break when she tried to test if we were having the presence of mind. Likewise, I think now we have to think about creating spaces for discussions, for meetings. And then, you know, when a meeting is taking place, people like to take down notes on the mobiles. Write it down. It is not healthy. And the tea breaks, coffee breaks, have to be, I don't like to use the word mandatory, it's not nice. They have to be encouraged. One is not suggesting that all the team members go and they will go at this time. No. We need to have flexibility in that also. She might be wanting to have coffee, I may not be wanting to have. So while she and he, they go to have coffee, we can keep doing our work. They will be relaxed, come back, and then I go back and have my tea or coffee. The team leaders, the teams themselves, they also need to have a conversation on social aspects. The team leaders, the heads of the institutions need to know from the eyes of the employees if somebody is facing a problem, like a teacher at school, a teacher in the university needs to have an eye contact all the time to find whether the child or a young person is engaged or not. And let me share with you the discussion that I had with the CSIF chief, I think 2-3 months back. He said, we have done away with the online applications for leave. So I said, why? Everybody is going in for online. He said, no, we call the employees. Whoever needs a leave, it's not to ROCO their leave, but we want to understand why is our employee wanting to take leave. Many a times we find that the employee is mentally disturbed. He goes home and shoots his wife or a father or a brother. He said there were so many cases that I took a decision that every leave application has to be signed only after the officers meet the employees. You see, the gaps between the teams, the leaders, the staff, they need to close. We are talking about these, but like, you know, many of us have been discussing multidisciplinarity. It is just in the game. When it comes to the subject, we all like to say, I am a psychologist, I am a person of English literature. The linguist will say, they would also like to have an identity, I am a linguist. Whereas my very dear colleague, Dr. Ranjan, would always politely say, हम तो आर्टिस्ट हैं मैम, और इतने अच्छे आर्टिस्ट हैं, ये हम मेरे और इनका कमरा ही साथ था, and I have seen his work. So I feel very proud. And Dr. Bhavna, she has been working so hard with Professor Padma Kali Banerjee that, you know, they made a difference in the academic culture of amity. So what one finds is, and another thing, I would also like to share another example when I was talking about leave. There was a colleague of ours, Dr. Anupam Vyas, he wanted 1 month's leave. So he went to Professor Padma Kali Banerjee and he said, Madam, 1 महीने की छुट्टी चाहिए. So she said, क्या हुआ? मेरे father बड़े critical. She said, जाओ. He came back to me to tell me कि मैम ने ये भी नहीं कहा arrangement करके जाओ. That is what we need. You see, unless and until, and it's not about her as an example, one has experienced it because, as I said, I have had negative experiences as well. When my leave was denied, when my father was critical, I couldn't go to Shimla. So one has experienced those things, and one has also experienced the goodness and large-heartedness of Aruna Asaf Ali, who always used to find me coming late. And she would always say, Kiran, आज क्या हुआ? मैंने कहा मनु की एडमिशन, ठीक है वो तो बहुत ज़रूरी है, बच्चा घर थोड़ी बैठ जाएगा. फिर थोड़े दिन और मैंने कहा, my mother-in-law has written a letter, she wants me to go to Panipat to see her. She said, she didn't say anything. She said, चिट्ठी पढ़ो. So I read it to her and she said, I think you need to go. So why I'm saying, and I'm not going to talk about the negatives, the positives that I got, they will always stay with me. From the negatives, I learned that whenever you become a team leader, you have to support your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. She is always very down to earth. But I just wanted to let many of our students know, currently she is working with an app developer. She is being an historian. She is actually helping them to understand that when you go to a museum, and you can just click on the app and see most of the details. So I think she is also very tech enabled, but technology is part of our life, but it is a means to an end and not end in itself. So thank you so much for touching on a lot of interesting cultural aspects of work life, and very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I would now like to request Mr. Yogesh Kochar, Global Ambassador of Happiness, CEO at lifeolive.com, Gurgaon, to address the gathering. Please, sir.
Thank you. I learned 3 things from you, Ashish. Learnability, that's a great word. It hadn't occurred to me that there could be a word called like learnability. And thank you very much for the mobile, and thank you very much for internalizing and stuff. So I'm going to combine all these 2-3 things put together. So I'm going to address 2 animals in the room, okay? One is an elephant in the room that we can't see. Aap piche dekh rahe the? No, there's no animal in the room, don't worry, okay? So one is an elephant in the room that we cannot see. The other one is a black cat that we all hold in our hands, which is a mobile phone, okay? Now that mobile phone, is there anybody in this room that can stand up, raise a hand and tell me if you were on Facebook? Anybody? Anybody? We were all on Facebook, right? You were on Facebook? Can you please come here? Come. What's your name? Laksh, are you a faculty or are you?
No, sir. I am a social media manager.
Okay. Laksh, do you remember what you saw on Facebook today?
Today, no, sir.
Okay, all right. This is what I wanted to. This is the point that I wanted to make with you. Right. This is the point that I wanted to make with you. Thank you, Laksh. Thank you. You got a beautiful name, लेकिन आपका लक्ष्य थोड़ा बिगड़ा हुआ है. उसे दुरुस्त करते हैं. So I'm going to play a short video for about 3.5 minutes because I wanted to contain whatever it is that I have to present to you, and then I'll show you something that I've created. Okay? Right. Light बंद कर दें. इसको रोकने के लिए यहाँ से रोकना.
देश के लिए बहुत बड़ी चिंता का विषय है कि एवरेज 6 घंटे लोग स्क्रीन पे लगाते हैं. 6 घंटे. देखिए हमारी क्रिएटिव उम्र और हमारी क्रिएटिविटी का सामर्थ्य अगर एवरेज हिंदुस्तान में 6 घंटे स्क्रीन पर जाए तो ये बहुत चिंता का विषय है.
So this is not just creativity, but this is also productivity in your offices. and this is exactly what we were talking about in the morning. People come in, everybody, we've got about 100 people in this room, and each person on his head has got a cloud, because we live our lives in the cloud. If you guys think you have a life of your own, you don't. Your life is being suggested to you, and as much as we'd like them to get off the mobile phone, that's not going to happen. That is impossible to happen, because minds are neuroplastic, and the neuroplasticity in the mind is always going to encourage you to go back to the mobile phone. So much so that because of the short videos that we watch, the 15 second, 5 second, 10 second, see, the brain's also got a chal, the brain's got a motion, and the brain then starts adopting and adapting to that motion. I'm talking about psychology for some of us that may understand this. When the brain adapts to that motion compels the brain to change the scene every 15 seconds. So if you've been looking at me for the last 15 seconds, there's an urge in you to pull out the phone and look at the phone, because you want to change the scene, right? So the good old days, we would watch a Rajesh Khanna film, he'd come dancing from one end of the screen, go to the other end of the screen, 30 seconds the frame used to remain the same, but the fellow used to be dancing. You take up any film today called Pathan or something like that, or any English film, the scene changes every second. What's it doing to you? What it's doing to you is this, that it is slicing your mind. It is slicing, dicing and tossing your mind. Now your mind has become hyperactive, right? It's radioactive now. And it wants a new scene happening every second. What's it doing to you more is that your attention capacity is completely out of the room. Your contiguity to work on stuff, your contiguity of your employees to work on stuff is completely out of the room. So that is the black cat that we are all looking for, like black, blind men and women in a dark room, and we are all looking for a black cat. We'll go on. It's important for me to elaborate here. So the good old days, if you said rest in peace somebody, or I love you somebody, or that I care for you deeply somebody, you really meant it. When you mean it, now we've heard of these 4 chemicals, everybody talks about serotonin. What are these chemicals? They're not in our bodies, they get generated in our bodies. They're there, but they're not there. These chemicals get generated when you write RIP and feel it, that chemical gets generated. That chemical gets generated, and oxytocin gets generated when you fall in love, or when you're appreciated for something, that oxytocin gets generated. Similarly, dopamine, similarly serotonin, similarly endorphins, etc. And all these are beautiful chemicals. These chemicals run through your endocrine system. So your entire medical biology gets disturbed if these chemicals are not there. And it is actually getting disturbed because now you just write it just for the sake of writing it. To all of you young students, you should know therefore that the next time you write RIP, or you write congratulations, or you write looking good, mean it. Because if you don't mean it, there's nobody else doing harm to you, you're doing harm to yourself, by yourself. Because if you don't mean it and you're just saying it, your endorphins, your serotonin, your oxytocin, your dopamine, all these chemicals, they realize that our owner doesn't want them, and therefore they go off to sleep like Kumbhakaran, and then you go to the psychologist, and then you go to the doctor and you say, I've got a problem. The problem is with you, and it comes to you from the phone. Well, we tried to correct that problem on the phone itself. That's something we'll speak about, but it was important for me to stop here and let you know that your endocrine system gets impacted by your phone. I see young mothers trying to feed their children. You have 5 senses. You consume through the medium of all these 5 senses, right? Touch, taste, smell, sight and hearing. You're consuming. You're consuming when you hear. You're consuming when you see. You are also consuming when you eat. When we eat with a mobile phone screen in front of us, and when we cannot eat because there is not a mobile screen in front of us, then what you eat doesn't go ahead and give rise to the enzymes in your body. पुराने ज़माने में लोग हाथ से चावल खाते थे. Why? Because you have sensors at the end of your fingertips. So when you touch the rice, the fingertips went there and told the brain, hey, the food that's coming is just right, or the food is too hot, so you continue to make a bowl out of it. But when the food was just right, the juices came. When the juices came, you ate that food. When you ate that food, you digested that food, your endocrine system was in balance. Today we started eating with spoons and all. I'm not against any of all that, but all I'm saying is that it's very important for us to recognize that the sense of sight is now overtaking your sense of taste. When your taste is not there, your sense of sight is the dominant sight, and that is not going to do you a world of good in your life. So you get that, right? We all take selfies. Then we have filters on our phone, right? And then we dress ourselves up as somebody that we are not. Somebody that's better looking is a different way of looking at it. But we basically trying to accept that, no, I don't like myself like this, I like myself like this better. When you're doing that to yourself, you're going into denial about your own personality, about your own self. When you go into denial about yourself, next thing you go into denial about your peer. And you tell your peer, no, he's not saying the right thing, I don't trust him. Trust issues come up. Trust issues come up because of this selfie business. You don't realize, I've been part of laboratories, in the US about 17 years back, where we were designing terms like artificial intelligence. We designed virtual reality terms. Just to design these terms, we had behavioral psychologists sitting in the room who said, what should it be called? And somebody said VR, and somebody said AI. It has never occurred to you, how can something that is artificial be also intelligent? How something that is virtual can also be real? But we were at the cutting edge of technology, and we said we wanted to roll these terms. We paid millions of dollars to PR companies who we said, now take this across and throw this as a term. There was no social media, before Facebook existed. Facebook paid the PR companies to start talking about a concept called social media. Like we paid companies to start propagating a concept such as virtual reality and artificial intelligence. So be mindful. So we know what validation means, some of us doctors here. For you to get your degree validated, you know what it meant, right? Ghutne ragadne pade, you had to sit outside the peer or sit outside your examiner or whoever was your professor that's trying to teach you. You knew what it took to get validated. Harry Potter comes in and he spoils everything because now he rides a broom and he says, I can win the world, right? And then next we all come in that race and we say, now I'll just post something, 20 validations, 20 likes, I'm validated, I'm happy. I don't need my father to validate me. I don't need my mother to validate me. I don't even want my professor to validate me. And AI is going to disrupt all that because, and allow me to say this, it's a warning sign that in the times to come, colleges will cease to exist. And the only way colleges must exist, I mustn't just make a statement, but I must also give you a solution. The only way for a college to exist is, so there are two things that are happening simultaneously. There is downloads happening and forwards happening. There is no uploading happening. On your phones, if there's anybody who tells me he uploaded something, you don't upload anything, you're only forwarding things. Even if you're uploading, your uploads are all forwards. So we have created a technology now that helps you upload. Otherwise there's only download and there is only trash. So what's coming in is just going out. Be mindful. And that leads to substance abuse. This is what is happening to your mind every 15 seconds. Apex teams. And your minds are becoming now brittle, anxious, non-linear, incomprehensible. We're talking about the VUCA world. You were talking about the VUCA world. This is the Bani minds in the VUCA world. And the Bani minds in the VUCA world is a deadly combination where they will not give you your productivity and they will not give you the students and they will not give you the desired output that we require. This is amazing. We're in India. India is 4 times the population of America. Can anybody here tell me what is the GDP of America? Anybody? Anybody here? Sorry? No, sir. It is about 25 trillion. It's important for us to know, and it's very important for you students to know the GDP of the world. Because what is it that you guys are going to go out and do if you don't know that there is a GDP of the world, and then there are companies in the world, and that you'll end up working for one of those companies in the world. That company will also have a a valuation. If you don't know the globe, how will you know your company? How will you know yourself? And that's why I was saying, referring to how all of us are today like blind men, blindfolded literally in a dark room looking for a black cat. So we must know America's GDP is 4 times the size of India, 8 times the size of India, and our population is 4 times their size. What is GDP? Gross domestic product. Who produces product? Hands produce products. If hands produce products, we've got 4 times the hands that America has got. Why is it that we produce 1/8 their GDP? Because we only consume. We do not create. Why do we only consume? We only consume because we've got the mobile phone in our hand and we must only consume. And that's the problem with you all. And you people will lose out in a race if you continue to consume and don't learn how to create. You have to learn how to create, okay? So that's a very important point. So in the good old days, people would talk about market share. That story is lost. And we talk now, in the IT sphere, we all the time talk about mind share. It is the mind share. America has your mind share. They don't care about the markets. They in any case don't like our food because we eat a lot of curries and they feel that it's going to disrupt their municipal system. So they feel Indians ko yahan nahi bulao, unke dimag ko yahan bula lo. It's not good enough for us to feel good about a Satya Nadella or somebody else at Google, etc. What have we contributed to their success just because they were Indians? That's not fair on our part to feel proud about being Indian just because an Indian is the CEO of Google or an Indian is the CEO of, let's say, Microsoft. Not good. I've personally worked for Microsoft. And they used to tell me openly, that we don't understand the brouhaha Indians raise about an Indian becoming the CEO right here in America. What did they do to us? Whatever they learned at an IIT, the different ball game is a different story, but that's not what they did to become the CEO of that company. That is the enabling mechanism. This is how your minds are getting colonized, and we need to recognize that there are colonizers who look something like this. On the Nobel committee, she's on the Nobel Prize committee, and she's on our board of advisors. So we wrote to the Prime Minister and we told him, you have a vision to create a $5 trillion economy. I'll show you 500 billions of yours, which is getting traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So I got a call from somebody in his office, and he says, "Ye kya $500 billion ki baat aap kar rahe hain?" They get very nervous because they don't want a loose cannon outside in the market. And that's where I told him. I said, if 40% of the subscribers on Facebook are Indians, and the subscriber valuation is $1 trillion, that is $400 billion. आप सबका मूल्यांकन हो चुका है, आप सबका बाजार लग चुका है, आप सबके दिमाग बिक चुके हैं, और ये मैं आपको प्रोवोक करने के लिए कह रहा हूँ. I'm provoking you. So you got to take cognizance of something like this. Now there's considering we don't have time, so I'm not going to demo the app, but that's something that we're discussing with your eminent Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much, Madam, for having me here. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm very glad to share that SPSU would be signing an MOU with YOL Happiness Foundation, New Delhi. YOL is an organization that assists universities, colleges, institutes, their students and faculty to increase the innovations, creativity, research, ideas, and happiness index, thereby increasing its overall happiness and NIRF ranking nationally and internationally. I request Mr. Yogesh Kochar and Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, to kindly proceed further with MOU signing. Please, sir. Please, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We are very happy to release the abstract book of various papers to be presented in the two-day conference. I request again, Honorable Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Pro-President, sir, all the deans, director placement, and all the guests to please come and release the abstract book.
MOU वाली स्क्रीन निकालेंगे आप एक बार फिर से, इसमें जो MOU वाली स्क्रीन थी ये वाली, हाँ, इसको निकालिए.
A picture here? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Professor Dr. Simplice Osongu, lead economist and director Excas, Belgium, has joined the session online. I request him to kindly deliver his keynote address. Yes, he's there. Osongu. Are you able to hear us, Simplice?
Yes, I can hear you. I want to upload my, to share my screen, please.
Yes.
Just a second.
His screen is shared. His screen is shared. He has shared his screen.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, your screen is visible to us.
Okay.
But if you have shared the PPT, it is not visible.
It is not visible?
Yeah, the PPT is not visible, but your screen is visible to us.
Is it okay now, sir?
No, right now your screen is not shared with us.
I have shared my presentation prayer. Could the presentation be uploaded in my script, please?
You want us to operate your PPT?
Yeah, definitely, sir. Thank you.
Just a second, please.
Thank you.
फुल स्क्रीन सारी स्क्रीन कर दो ये कर दो
Thank you very much. So, Your Excellencies, Honorable Chairpersons, Professors, Lecturers, and students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I had a different presentation in mind, but when I understood the founding vision of the late Sir Pandampat Singh Hanya, which is an empowered Indian populace having an equal place in the community of nations, I immediately thought it wise to adjust my presentation to insights that are relevant in empowering an African populace to have an equal place in the community of nations. The underlying insights are in the presentation entitled Governance for Structural Transformation in Africa. I am Professor Simplice Osongu, lead economist of the European Extra Mile Center for African Studies. Next slide, please. So my presentation will center around 6 main strands. I will provide conceptual clarifications as it pertains to governance dynamics. I will then discuss contemporary development paradigms, then reconcile these conflicting paradigms within the specific remit of African-centric development, then propose maximum self-reliance, sustainable economic transformation strategies for Africa, then equally discuss how economic structures could be funded by means of governance dynamics for sustainable development. I would end the presentation with a conclusion. Next slide, please. So, as far as these governance concepts are concerned, I must reiterate that these are from from the World Bank's governance indicators. You have three main governance dynamics: political, economic, and institutional governance. Political governance entails political stability and voice and accountability, and could be defined as the election and replacement of political leaders. Economic governance is proxied by government effectiveness and regulation quality. It is the formulation and implementation of policies that deliver public commodities. Institutional governance is understood within the remit of corruption control and the rule of law. It is the respect by citizens and the state of institutions that actually govern interactions between them. As far as economic transformation is concerned, it could simply be defined as the transition from low productivity and low intensive economic activities to higher productivity and high skilled economic activities. Next slide, please. So these conceptual clarifications are necessary to understand the paradigm shift that I will propose. Next slide, please. So there are two main development paradigms here at play. You have the Washington Consensus, abbreviated WC, and the Beijing model, abbreviated BM. The Washington Consensus can actually be defined as liberal democracy, private capitalism, and priority in political rights, whereas the Beijing model can be understood in terms of de-emphasized democracy, state capitalism, and priority in economic rights. There is one main distinguishing feature between these two main development paradigms, and it actually centers around what priority is actually articulated by respective development paradigms. With respect to the Washington Consensus, the focus is more on the right to vote, that is political rights, whereas with the Beijing model, it is more about the right to food or economic rights. So the issue is, what is endogenous? Are we talking about political rights coming first or economic rights coming first? Should the right to food come before the right to vote? With the Washington Consensus, economic rights are more endogenous to political rights. That is, political rights come before economic rights. Whereas, as far as the Beijing model is concerned, political rights are more endogenous to economic rights, meaning that economic rights come before political rights. It's important to note that the concept of governance, of political governance, understood here is based on two main dimensions, that is voice and accountability and political stability or no violence. But when these paradigms are defined, only the dimension of political rights, that is of voice and accountability, is taken into account. The next slide, please. So I will now try to reconcile these debates, these main development paradigms within the specific remit of African-centric development. The first notion is the NEPAD, the New Partnership for African Development, which actually reconciles the Washington Consensus and the Beijing model, particularly because it lays emphasis on human rights, which is articulated by the Washington Consensus, but it also posits for African sovereignty, which is actually articulated by the Beijing model. So you have a complex issue of rights here at play: human versus national rights, idiosyncratic versus sovereign rights. Human and idiosyncratic rights are actually the focus of the Washington Consensus, whereas the Beijing model is actually for national and sovereign rights. The Washington Consensus and the Beijing model could also be reconciled within the remit of a sustainable middle class. What we propose is that unless people have enough food to eat, unless people have roofs over their heads, unless people have basic social amenities, they will be more concerned about the right to food than the right to vote. So in our proposition, economic institutions should be prioritized at the early stages of industrialization. That is, the Beijing model should come at the early stages of industrialization, whereas political institutions should come with as economies mature in terms of industrialization. So Beijing model short term with priority in economic rights, and Washington Consensus medium and long term with priority in political rights. The next slide, please. So the concept of maximum self-reliance, which we are proposing, actually centers around responsibility, confidence, and discipline, which are self-evident. So why does self-reliance actually engender sustainable development? Principally for a plethora of reasons. Notably, developed countries now have their own issues. You also have poor people that are living in absolute poverty in the developed countries, and foreign aid is not sustainable. Domestic resources actually are relevant for better governance, essentially because we know of this saying of no taxation without representation. people are only prepared to pay more taxes in exchange for better governance standards from the government, then the policy of maximum self-reliance is also consistent with Agenda 2063 of the African Union, which is an Africa that Africans want based on maximum self-reliance. The next slide, please. So the paradigm of maximum self-reliance that we are actually proposing actually centers on a number of protocols in the light of sustainable development goals, charting a future away from international aid, less dependence on the export of raw materials, investing in educating skills and infrastructure, and then more foreign investment and domestic revenue mobilization, and then having a sustainable development investment partnership for a country's sustainable development goal financing roadmap. The next slide, please. So in order to fully grasp the model that I'm about to propose, it is first of all worthwhile to articulate non-contemporary development paradigms that have governed or dictated Africa's development path so far. You have that initially, the question here is an orbiting dichotomy to understand whether we should be thinking of, seeking or asking for more aid, or we should be fighting illicit capital flight, because we understand only too well that for every dollar that comes into Africa, about 20 or about 20 or $10 actually leave the continent. Pessimistic perspectives actually put it at 10 dollars. So it might be concluded that Africa is a net creditor of the world if we actually take this illicit capital flight into profound account. The first non-contemporary development model is the Harrow-Doma model that is actually based on missing aggregate savings. So according to the model, we need savings to fund the financing gap, and such funding could be provided by means of aid. But we are proposing that we should forget about aid and fight illicit capital flight, because fighting illicit capital flight will restore the savings. Savings equals investment, and investment will engender taxation. No taxation without governance, because people are only prepared to pay more taxes in exchange for better governance standards. So this would actually ultimately engender better governance for sustainable development. We also have the Solos One model, which is actually based on catch-up between the rich and the poor. And in summary, the poor are more labor-intensive but less capital-intensive. So we have to invest in poorer countries. But there's a problem here, and it is an upward bias in endogenous GDP, which can actually be addressed by fighting illicit capital flight. Fighting illicit capital flight will generate higher GDP per capita in these countries, particularly African countries, which will lead to taxation and better governance. The next slide, please. So, another celebrated author is Thomas Piketty. In his Capital in the 21st century. Piketty concluded that when the return of capital is higher than growth rate, inequality will be happening.
I don't know because I'm hearing the guy say the next slide.
It's here, next slide, so I don't know where it's from.
Someone is interrupting, please. Someone is interrupting. Okay, so our paradigm that we are proposing is actually based on Thomas Piketty's celebrated Capital in the 21st century. And Capital in the 21st century concludes that when the return on capital is higher than the economic growth rate of a country, inequality will be apparent, and the poor cannot catch up with the rich. So Thomas Piketty proposes that, as an ideal solution, that progressive income taxation should be taken into account, and this progressive income taxation should be based on an automatic exchange of bank information. Now, what we are proposing is that when the return on political economy is higher than the economic growth rate of the country, there is bound to be asymmetric development. By return on political economy, we are making allusion to illicit capital flight. If illicit capital flight in an economy is 10% and economic growth is just 5%, there is bound to be asymmetric development. And if we consider these countries collectively as Africa cannot catch up with the West. So we are also proposing, as ideal solution, the fight against illicit capital flight based on an automatic exchange of bank information. This would engender taxation and governance necessary for sustainable development. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, in conclusion, We should prioritize economic governance at the initial stage of industrialization, which is what most African countries are actually experiencing at the moment. There should be a shift towards more reliant development strategies, and there should be more reliance on domestic means of financing the economy. Moreover, economic structures, core economic structures, should be left in the hands of domestic investors in order to limit capital flight. Next slide, please. I think I'm done. Previous speakers in thanking the School of Management of SPSU and the Center for Innovation in Skills and Social Innovation CIS for the opportunity of engaging with Icmrc 2023, and I look forward to more opportunities of collaboration. Thank you very much for the kind attention.
Thank you very much, sir. It was very interesting, your research on Africa and the sustainable development in Africa was very interesting, and we thank you for joining us online today and for all the support you have rendered to Icmrc 2023. Thank you so much. Now I request Mr. Vivek Iyer, Vice President Sales, Anthology Incorporation India, to kindly address the gathering. Please, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It gives me a lot of sadistic pleasure to stand between you and lunch. So I really enjoy this. So I'm going to have pity on you and try to do a very express version, but most importantly, I myself am very hungry. So I will try to, finish it even faster than I would. My name is Vivek Iyer. I head the business for Anthology in India. Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I never squander any opportunity to come to Udaipur. When the organizers reached out to me, Mr. Iyer, can you come to Udaipur? I said yes. Didn't even hear, but I'm so glad I could come here. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. A lot of speakers have given a lot of perspectives about, and they are all eminent speakers in their own right. I don't want to do a mishmash of those things, but what I can bring to you is a technology perspective to the kind of challenges we see that higher education institutions face, not only in India, across the world. Just to give you a very brief introduction, Anthology is probably the largest edtech company in the world right now. We provide solutions in the area of ERP, LMS, CRM, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of association with a lot of institutions. So we get a great perspective of what are the kind of challenges they are trying to solve with technology. Now that they've set this up. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is what primarily I'll intend to cover. What are the challenges today in higher education? How tech can help tackle these challenges, and why Anthology is best suited to help you. Alvin Toffler, if you would have no doubt read about Future Shock, he says that the illiterate of the 21st century is not somebody who can't read and write. It's somebody who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I think Rohit, Ashish spoke about it today, about how you need to be relevant. And unfortunately, higher education, this is a generalized statement, I'll take the liberty of making that. We've become it's become very massified. It's become a degree granting, degree printing, body. Instead of moving to, and I see the gradual shift happening, instead of moving to skill-based rather than knowledge and just being able to reproduce that kind of a knowledge. So it's extremely important to develop that kind of mindset where you can unlearn and relearn. Because people like Ashish and all, we've been in the industry for so long, but what we knew 5 years back, it doesn't hold relevance at all. We have to keep upgrading ourselves, and the same goes for students who are passing out. Mark Cuban, no doubt you would know it from Shark Tank. He talks about how artificial intelligence, deep learning, etc. And if you're not learning it, you're going to be a dinosaur in 3 years. Now, what was eye-catching for me in this is not deep learning, is not AI, it's not the word dinosaur, it is 3 years. 3 years is the time frame from where you can move from being relevant to becoming a dinosaur. And what is 3 years? The typical program tenure that we have today, 3 to 4 years. So by the time you enter an academic institute and what you're learning, by the time you pass out, the world has changed and moved on. So what is important is not to, the onus cannot be completely on the higher education institutes and faculty. Students also need to reorient their thinking in terms of changing their mindset about how to be creative, how to be curious, and how to learn more things. This is a quote by one great person, Vivek Iyer. I just came up with it. What I have been seeing is that every leap that technology has taken, it has displaced some jobs. Whether it is, cars when they were invented, they were displacing people who were riding horse carriages. Those jobs displaced to the shop floor. When it became automated, those shop floor jobs also went off. Now we are talking about driverless cars. Even Uber drivers probably will become obsolete in at some point. But what is happening right now is very different. All this while menial jobs were being replaced. Now, for example, in Hollywood, if you've paid attention, there's a writers' protest going on, and one of the things they're protesting for is asking those big studios not to outsource work to things like AI, because AI is not now able to generate scripts. AI is now able to compose songs. So even the creative field, they are having a lot of job insecurity. And all this is happening in the globe. We are grappling with online learning and adopting, technology for, doing learning. This is another great person, my son. I just took this liberty because I think he speaks for a generation, the COVID generation. They felt that, the entire experience of learning, etc., they felt very isolated, disengaged. And to be honest, when we were taken by surprise when lockdowns came in, there was no other option for higher education institutes but to drastically, move online, and we call it emergency remote teaching. They just had to keep the lights on. But now that COVID is gone, we need to make better use of technology to, bring more aspects of collaboration, motivation, etc. So what are the 3 challenges? One is continued employability. I'm not saying employability because you may be able to get a job when you pass out. But for you to have continued employability and being able to excel at your work, you need to constantly keep upgrading. So learners are actually being prepared for jobs which probably won't exist even when they pass out or, in future. Student experience, we have a one-size-fits-all approach, unfortunately. I'll talk about how technology can help in creating different kind of experiences for different students. And of course, data-led insights. I still think there is a lot of work as a community, and I consider myself a part of the higher education community. We are still behind the curve when it comes to using data for making more intelligent decisions. We have a module among our products which brings real-time market and job labor data and maps onto the skills that your current programs are going to be imparting to you. What this does is, for example, if you're vying to be, say, an electronics engineer, you click on it, you get all the market data which gets pulled from different sources that we have. It can tell you, what is the average salary, how many jobs are there, what kind of skills that employers are looking for, are the prospects of this job going up or going down. Now, why is this important? Because when you are designing your learning path in your institute, you want to design it in such a way that when you pass out, you have all the requisite skills for the kind of job that you want. So instead, what is happening today, you go through the motion. At the end of the 4th year, you find that there is a gap between what you have and what the industry wants, and oops, it's too late to do anything. So that fine-tuning has to happen at the start, not at the end. Talking about student experience, we are talking to Gen Z guys. They are exposed, they are encouraged, they in fact demand consumer grade experience from all other parts of their life. They are on Netflix, they are on social media, everything is available on the fingertips. So why they have every right to expect the same kind of experience when it comes to higher education. So bringing everything in one place is just a start. For example, bringing centralized access to course material, assignments, everything in one place. I see that my kid, they also do a lot of online learning. Everything is in different pieces. So first I should be going and selling to my kids, college. But, we have the technology today to bring all that together so that students, get everything in one place. Personalized learning. Today, like I said, we are using a one-size-fits-all. Every student, every learner has a different pace of learning, a different preference towards learning. And we can today create individual learning paths for students using technology. And of course, like I said, collaboration was missing during the COVID period. Everything was online. Today, technology is available to be online and yet facilitate a lot of that collaboration, peer discussion, groups, debates, so on and so forth. Now, the third point that I had spoken about challenges was data-led actionable insights. It's all fine. Today, every technology comes with data and analytics. But what do? They make a fundamental mistake of asking you to go and look at that report, get your own analysis, and then come back to your system and possibly take the right decision. What we believe is actionable analytics. So you get analytics and insights on the platform that you're working on, and right there you're able to take action on the suggested insight. So for example, faculty, they can track the student progress, see how students are engaging, and right there, if they find that there is a gap, they can reach out to the student and nudge them or urge them to complete things. Now that was at a student level. Even at a course level, how is my course doing? Is the engagement level right? Do I need to tweak it? This is sort of feedback which comes from the system. So it can improve outcomes at a student level and even at a course level. And why my company, Anthology? It's a US-based company. We work with customers over 80 countries, supporting 150 million users. But essentially, we have 60 plus products, but just 2 products. One is managing academic administration using student information system, and most importantly, Blackboard Learn. I'm sure, I hope most of you have heard of Blackboard LMS. It's the world's leading learning management system. We own Blackboard LMS. So Blackboard LMS can digitalize a lot of your learning and teaching, like I spoke about. Some of the clients that we work with, one of the customers right here, IIM Udaipur, they use our platform. They've been using it for 10 years. So that's all I had. In case any questions, I can take it. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ayer. It was very interesting. We have with us Professor Dr. Festus Victor Bekun from Istanbul, Kelsim University, Turkey. He has joined us online and he would give his keynote address. Sir, are you there? Online?
Yes, I'm actually here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Perfect. You can please help me with the slide? Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay. A big thanks to the organizing committee. Can I go on?
Are we audible to you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So your PPT is open. You can continue.
Okay. Thank you so much, the convener and the moderator, for the opportunity. I'm going to be bringing to our consciousness the consequences of climate change, even in the business environment. I know it's a business university, but I had the temptation to remain in my area of comfort, and I'm going to be talking about climate change issues and the role of globalization, how they've all interplayed in developing economy, which permit me to say India falls in that block. So there are some policy directions or blueprints that could be gleaned from that. This is an extract of a study completed some time ago, and I'm just going to share my experiences around it, and I wouldn't bore you with the whole modeling part or the econometrics part of it. So please, you can move on to the next slide. Okay, this is just a little advertisement about myself. I think you already shared my bio. We can move on away from here. I have my bigger bosses and mentors here, so let me remain very humble. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So the presentation is going to take the following shape. Briefly, I'm going to introduce the idea to us in a more explicit way and share a brief synopsis on what's been trending in the literature in this regard, regarding the theme I'm trying to share with us, and possibly what we did, how I did what I did, and draw some policy directions around it, which India could be a beneficiary from it, even though the subject area is for E7 economics, E7 blocks, but India could also share some benefit in terms of regulations and policy directions. Please, the next slide. So over the years, in the last 4 decades plus, there's been a conversation around energy, climate change, and there's been a strong correlation between how the economy performs and how the energy system is in terms of energy mix. What are the energy shares of the country? This debate has been ongoing since the first study of Kraft and Kraft in 1978, almost 5 decades now. So the conversation has been ongoing in the extant literature. What are the energy mix? Which of the energy mix is the most preferred, and what are the pros and cons around the different energy mix? This conversation, it's very important in times like this, where the consciousness is ongoing. To make a good business, to make a good business atmosphere, there is need for good energy systems in the country. If the energy system works, it's going to thrive, the businesses are going to thrive on it, and the economy will be better off, as outlined by the Energy Information Agency of the United States. Please, to the next slide. As a way of introduction, there have been several conventions that outline or advocate for the need for climate change. You will agree with me that times are changing. Summers are no longer coming at the time they are expected 5-10 years ago. Summers are more harsher, the winters are more colder, and all of that. Spring come when it wishes to come. All of these as a result of anthropogenic activity by the induced by human activities, from the form of energy we consume, from our activities of burning bushes and all whatnot. And these have raised the attentions of all concerned parties, like the United Nations, which developed a block of goals called the UN SDGs, and number 13 is focusing on climate change mitigation, and several other agreements like the Paris Agreement, and the more recent one, the COP26. Pardon me to say COP21, but COP26 is the most recent one, and the United Nations Framework or Convention on Climate Change all advocate for the need to be conscious about our ecosystem, or aka our environment. So this is very necessary, as these activities we perform as humans when we go about our businesses, our activities, which we call in environmental science anthropogenic activities, has ripple effects on the ecosystem or the environment. And I want to discuss this while taking into consideration other macroeconomic variables. Please, let's go to the next slide. So the aim is to investigate how this works with the inclusion of, in my model framework, a more robust or more compact or complex measure of environmental quality, which is called the ecological footprint, that it's more robust for E7 economies. And these economies are outlined here, and interestingly, India is part of it. pardon my earlier conversation that India is not part. The E7 comprises of the 7 economies outlined to us here: Brazil, Russia, India, Indonesia, Mexico, my wonderful country, Turkey at the moment, and China. If you pay attention closely to this country, if you look at a closer lens, you will accept that most of the 4, 5, or 3 of the countries in the BRICS economies are here, which tells us something, that these countries are emerging economies, they are transition economies. Let's go on to the next slide. So it's worthy of investigation. Let's see how this is going on. And I'm going to bore you, I'm going to stress you, I'm not going to stress you rather about the whole literature. I already said it's been ongoing. This conversation in the energy domain and in the related literature has been ongoing for almost 50 years, actually 45 years this year. So these are the several studies that has been done, a selected few. Let's move on to the next slide. And when I undertook this study, at the time of taking up this study, I wanted to see the different possible questions I intended to answer as outlined before us here. Are there any contributions between, are there any statistical difference between what goes on in the environment and the economy, which is possible? And there are several theories to support this, like the Kuznets ideology, the Kuznets curve hypothesis, that when countries are at the initial stage of their growth, there is more focus on economic growth, like India with a huge population and a huge GDP at the moment, one of the topmost country in terms of GDP growth. At this stage, at the early stage, which is we call the scale stage, there is more focus on economic growth. Let's just get the economy booming. However, at the trade-off for environmental quality, until a certain threshold, which is called the tipping point, before the consciousness breaks in, and then there's a decline, like a U-shape or inverted U-shaped curve, as we call it, the EKC. So although in this study we didn't investigate the turning point, but we wanted to see, is there any significant relationship between these two outlined variables, the environment and the economy? But in this case, the environment is being measured or proxied by ecological footprint as against previous studies, or the bulk of the studies that uses CO2, which has been criticized by some scholars in the discipline as well. And we wanted to see the different energy forms that do energy consumption from fossil fuel. I think at this point it's worthy of mention that all the 7 countries outlined in the E7 block all base their energy source. Majority, a larger share of the energy mix is from fossil fuel based energy, which is mostly coal and other form of energy that are not renewable, and as such you expect combustion of CO2, CO, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, and all of those unpleasant air that reduces the quality of our lives. And in the long run, then as a business-oriented economy school, when you are not healthy, you cannot perform your businesses or trade in a proper way. And I also wanted to see that we added something to this study by considering what are the role of natural endowment in terms of resources. These natural resources, what are their roles? The extraction, the rent we get from it in form of extraction. What are the environmental implications? Studies have shown that, supported by the Dutch hypothesis, the Dutch hypothesis that the endowed countries are always the poorer countries. However, we expect the opposite, but because these extractions are done at the compromise or at the expense of the environment, we face this difficulty. We also wanted to see, please, the next slide. These are all the hypotheses we wanted to consider, and we went on to do that with the following econometrics tools. I'm not going to bore you with all of that. Please, the next slide. And the next one, please. These are all the techniques we use. The next one. These are all pretty recent tools we use. Let's go to the tables now, please. Whoever is helping me out, the tables. The next slide, please. Is the moderator there? Can you help me with the next slide? It has the tables. Yeah, perfect. So these are the tables for the study, several tables. I'm not going to bore you with all of that. Move to the result part. I'm going to discuss all the tables in one block because of the remit of time I have also for this presentation. Could you go to the next one where you have the results and discussion? This is the most important part now. Yeah, we had the tables. The tables are the simulations, and this is not an econometric class. It's just awareness I'm trying to bring to the audience that we have here. So that being said, there were some simulations at the earlier stage. They were preliminary analysis, and which comprises of the basic descriptive and all of those things we do in our research or in our thesis. We did that and we found interesting results. However, we went to the baseline regression, which is supported by, to see the long run, what is the impact of this on this, the impact of that, on the dependent variable, on the independent variable. Why we followed all the assumptions of classical linear regressions, that there is no issues around the modeling. The modeling was supported by leading literature that the model is properly fitted. How do we know that? By our post-estimation result, it showed that the model was properly fitted. So we saw that the globalization we use, there are three. The globalization index is 3 in 1. The economic, the political, and the social. However, we focus on the economic globalization because the world, like the saying, like there is a cliche that the world is a global village and the internet is the market square. So every country is somewhat intertwined with the other country. So we focus on the economic globalization. As that increases, we see that there's an increase in environmental degradation. That is to say, in this developing economy, there is less preference for green economy. The economy is growing, but at the expense of the quality of life. So the very rhetorical question the policymakers or the government officials in those countries are going to ask, or still remain unanswered, is it worth it? Is the growth actually worth it? We are growing, however, at the expense of the quality of the environment. Is it worth it? That remained unanswered. And we also saw that being validated again, whereby the economy is also growing. Economic globalization is growing. Definitely, you expect if economy grows, economic globalization also grows. Both affirm the fact or the assertion that these countries are, yes, growing, however, at the expense of the quality of the environment. So here comes the rhetorical question, or the $1 million question. Is it worth it? We can ponder over that. Next slide, please. I lost my help. Hello. Okay. So, however, we saw that clean energy, I mean, if these countries could take the initiative, although clean energy comes at an initial huge investment cost, but in the long run, it pays off. You know, there's a huge cost to install all of those better performing
Professor,
plants.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. We are running out of time. So if you could please come to the conclusions, findings.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Could you please move to the conclusion, the concluding remark? Yes, could you move? Okay. These are all, no, just one backup. So in summary, I'm going to say everything in one sentence. In summary, these emerging countries are meant to come to the consciousness whereby they can cash in on the benefits of renewables. However, this is not going to come as a walk in the park. It's going to come at a huge initial capital cost. That's the key word, huge initial capital cost. But in the long run, it's going to pay off, whereby you have cleaner, greener, and good ecosystem or the environment, which allows us to have a better life, a better business ecosystem. And I wish India, also policymakers, can also take the initiative, even though they are recent national goals to achieve this SDG number 13. In terms of also SDG 12, responsible production and consumption, our production should be oriented in such a way that is responsible. And I hope if we achieve this, we have a cleaner ecosystem. And once again, thanks to the convener, the rectorate, and all the parties involved to bring me on board. The presentation was very fast. I had to sprint like a Usain Bolt because of the brevity of time. Thank you once again for having me, and I wish success to the program as we continue.
Thank you, Festus. That was very interesting.
Thank you so much.
As we are coming to the end of the session, I would like to deliver a vote of thanks on behalf of the entire team of Icmrc 2023, and on my own behalf. I express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to all the dignitaries, guests of honors, keynote speakers, session chairs, who have enormously contributed to the two-day international conference on management research and cases, Icmrc 2023. It was the blessings from our Honorable Chancellor, SPSU, Dr. Nidhipati Singhania, which encouraged us to take up this endeavor. it was the vision, guidance, encouragement, and support from our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, at every stage of planning till its execution that we could positively contribute to the grand success of this conference. We are very grateful to her and look forward to her continued direction. We are thankful to Professor Dr. Sanjeev Tomar, Pro-President, SPSU, for his guidance and support. Special thanks to the conference chairs, Professor Dr. Sadanand Prasti, Dean School of Management, and Professor Dr. Bhavna Adhikari, Dean Academics, as without their unconditional support, the conference would not have been possible. We are thankful to Dr. Tushar Somnathe, Director Partnership and Placement, and his team for lending their immense support in making the conference a grand event. The faculty members of the organizing core committee from the School of Management also deserve a special thanks, who have worked effortlessly in facilitating the success of this conference. We thank the members of the review committees, dignitaries of the scientific committees in supporting us in all our conference endeavors. We are very grateful to Matiyaj, Institution of Engineers, Udaipur Local Center, College Dunia, SAS India Private Limited for their generous sponsorship to the conference. We thank our academic partners, the European Extramile Center of African Studies, EXCAS, SUSLENS, Center for Innovation and Skills and Entrepreneurship Development, CISSU, SPSU, for providing us with a strong academic connect and foundation to make the conference academically enriched. We sincerely acknowledge the intellectual contributions of the authors of the research papers and students affiliated to various renowned universities across the country for their participation in the conference, making it a huge success. We sincerely acknowledge the substantial contribution of the faculty colleagues, IT support, and administrative staff of SPSU towards making this conference a grand event. Lastly, we wish to applaud the tremendous effort and work done by the students of School of Management. Thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure having you all here, and now I request all of you to please proceed for lunch. Thank you. So all the dignitaries, guests, please proceed for lunch to Media Lab, and all the students and participants would have their lunch in the mess. Thank you so much. All the dignitaries and guests, we would also invite you